Bastionland, the playtest version of the next edition of Into the Odd. Tonight we'll be working through Michael Prescott's The Moon is a Mirror adventure. And with me are the very seasoned Yonarla Cavendish and two new associates of hers. So I'm going to let the players introduce their characters, and then I'm going to briefly talk about who their rival is tonight, and then we have a couple of questions to answer before we get started, and then we'll go. Over to Yonarla.
Yonarla Cavendish is the de facto leader of the Pigeon Street Shucklers. She's really pretty, and she just doesn't want any drama. She just wants, she just wants an easy life. She wants to get rich, and she doesn't care who gets in her way. They just won't be living anymore when they do. So I hope that nobody gets in her way this session, because that's just drama she does not need in her life, Her therapist keeps telling her, you gotta get rid of that drama, and you know what? She's gonna do it.
Yeah. So
she's really tall. She wears very bright, like, fuchsia and orange. She's got very dark skin, long hair, and she's dapper as fuck.
So Yonarla has established a little bit of a reputation as definitely one of the more charismatic and charming surviving treasure hunters in Bastion right now. And she's got an amazing record. Like, she's got this incredible survival rate when you're working with her, and a low survival rate for working against her. Just to kind of bring everybody, so like working with Yonarla is pretty well established as a good thing to do. I believe you've got enough money to pay off the rival circus gang that broke up your kind of traveling show before you turned to traveling. What has gotten you back in debt?
What has gotten me back in debt?
Yeah, in the last month. Am
I back in debt, or have I just kind of kept doing this?
You could be either one. It could be either one. But so I think the question is, why are you still treasure hunting for money? What new debts or obligations or business ventures are you trying to fund?
I feel like I'm trying to make the Pigeon Street Shucklers into a legitimate business of trading company and acquisitions company,
that's not trying
to and turning it into a legitimate business that does treasure hunting. And so I'm continuing down this road because I've found that I have a knack for it, despite turning to it by desperation only. So yeah.
Oh, nice. And kind of going on across the screen is it showing up for me? Let's go to Wistar.
Yes, Wistar is a very interesting individual. They are considered to be a gutter wretch, that is. And what's particularly interesting about Wistar is that they were once a rat,
right?
Physically a rat that was given human form in a lab experiment. So they have very ivory pale skin, like an albino rat would. They have those bright red eyes, just like the rats do, but otherwise has human features.
So why did you end up living in the gutter after you were transformed?
I think it's been very difficult for Wistar to kind of adapt and adjust to a more human-dominated society. They still have the ability to communicate with other rats and rodents, so they kind of still go to them for friendship and kinship.
Right.
But as far as being a human, that's tough. So in the gutters until they learn better.
Nice. All right. And Wistar, how did you used to be a gutter wretch, and it's hard to really fail as a gutter wretch. Most people have a failed career. You started off in kind of a rough spot, kind of started, you got, a leg up and was, you got a stick hook you were able to get your hands on. And, but you've acquired some debt along the way. What did you get about 20, 30 pounds in debt for?
I think that Wistar is in debt to the Rat Catchers Consortium.
Oh, nice.
For the purchase of a human permit, a permit that allows rats to be given human rights.
Oh.
But when they came out of the lab, they didn't really have any money to go along with it. So I'm in debt until I pay them back. Otherwise, I might get caught by a bunch of rat catchers still.
Nice. Okay.
May I ask, stick hook, is that an established thing?
I was under the impression it was just a stick with a hook on it.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking too.
I've learned not to completely trust myself, though, and to check Wikipedia.
I looked it up. I didn't see anything specific. I guess it could be interpreted as like a shepherd's crook, or maybe like a boomerang.
I think it'd be something a little more like utilitarian sort for city life. So it's just like, it's something like, if you're trying to reach something that's higher, you get a stick, and if you need to pull something down from there, there's a kind of a hook on the edge of the stick.
So I found a nice sturdy stick hook somewhere and
right.
Hold on to it for protection.
And have put it to good use, I'm sure. Where did you find the stick hook?
It's got to be from like a cheese shop.
Nice.
To like take the sign down, or if they wanted to change things up. But now it must forever be a cheese shop because they don't have a stick hook. They can't replace the sign. So
right, and they can't close because they can't pull down the metal shutters to close.
That's right.
I like the way you work. And it's Rehlso?
Yep.
So tell us about Rehlso.
So I don't think I really know too much about where I came from. There's a lot of vague sort of memories. What I do know is that my mother and father were on the run. Kind of like escaped servants running from indentured servitude, something. I don't know, perhaps it was slavery. All I know is that they came from somewhere and we ended up here. And, they told me, blend in. And, shortly after that, again, perhaps it was wounds, perhaps they actually abandoned me because they thought they were bringing heat, who knows, but I was on my own. So there was a lot of trying to figure out why I was not the same as the people around me, because a lot of me was the same. I am wrinkled and saggy. I look kind of like somebody who used to weigh maybe 500-600 pounds, but now weighs about 120 plus 45-50 pounds of extra skin. So things sort of tuck in. My eyes are sunken only because of all that extra material, and to kind of make up for his sort of like drabness, he has these overalls that he found because he can tuck all of himself into them, and he's slowly been replacing bits and pieces of the very bland corduroy with really bright patches of material, silks and dyed cottons and bits of fabrics from fancy couches and things like that he's just found over the course of his exploits. Although he's probably 40-ish, he imagines himself still as being young and kind of gets the feeling that he's being young. And he used to be smaller and less wrinkly, and seems to maybe think that if he gets older enough, he will be less wrinkled and less saggy. But, there's a whole lot of himself that he doesn't know.
Right. So are there other people from Nebula and I apologize, true to form, New York City Emergency Services waits to go by until I am on a call of some sort. So do you think there are other people from Nebula in Bastion?
I feel like there are, or at least there's been somebody looking out for me, but they haven't made contact. I don't know if it's a karma thing, or if I don't know if it's like a proving myself, or I need to do good enough. But I feel like when things have sort of gone my way and I've done well, suddenly I'll find little things for myself. Most recently, at the place where I sleep, I've found this weird gun. Not real good at it, and I need to hold it with two hands, but it fires off these shrieking discs that, they scare the bejesus out of me, so I hope that they will scare whatever I aim it at as well. And this is probably the most substantial thing that I found. Either there's some sort of society that knows more about me and thinks that at some point in the future I'll be worth something, or maybe it's more people like me. But there's just been little knickknacks here and there that makes me think it might be people like me, like foods that most people don't like to eat. Like, you get the apples that are a little bit furred over, and most of the people around you, they don't want that. They kind of pitch them, but it's a delicacy. It tastes great. I'll find things like that when I've done well, like somebody who needs to know a little bit about me in order to leave behind a good treat or a good reward.
Nice. Interesting. Okay. And not all this money you're making from treasure hunting is going straight into your pocket. Who do you owe money to?
There's this bloke named Jackal. At least that's what he calls himself. He's got one of those tattoos on his face of a big animal that looks like a badly drawn cat, but he says it's a jackal. And he is absolutely certain that I am not human, and he is absolutely certain that he can extort me into doing something for him that he keeps sort of holding over my head when he sees me. And he says he knows the people to give the information to. He's wanted to give me money for some time, and I just found some people who will kill him as soon as I can work up the money to give him.
Nice.
Because I don't want to have to, people have seen him confronting me. I don't want to be seen, dealing with that. But if I can pass a little cash over on the side and get rid of him, my life will be easier.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And Yonarla, just to address a question you had asked earlier before we started the broadcast, after a recent adventure, Yonarla was able to hire a thaumaturge, a university-trained thaumaturge, to look at some potions that you'd found in return for being able to sort of research them. And you recall an associate of yours, I think by the name of Kalu, drank one of those potions had some weird cognitive effects, but was started being able to breathe fire, and built a building down or two in the process. And your thaumaturge took a look at everything and said, like, this is the process of forming a crystalline, helping kind of crystallize the thoughts, but it also leaves a crystalline structure in the brain. And there's not really a way to make that safe. But it's one of those, like, you're trading the damage cognition effect for your damage. You're trading the neural damage for these weird magical abilities or improved ability to understand arcana and thaumaturgy. Were there any other questions you had for for this Dr. Korn? Not to be confused with Professor Korm. Jennifer, are you there?
Yeah. So Dr. Korn has taken over. Is our resident?
Is your resident thaumaturge?
Okay. Well, I suppose I'd like to know what the potions, like, properties are. Like, what gifts do they give?
You can point to a few things. There's a one that seems to channel speed. Some of them are just sort of neutral. They're just there to sort of help a thaumaturge kind of crystallize their own thoughts. Some of them have the impressions of other thaumaturges on them. And without consuming it, it would be hard to tell what specifically that thaumaturge was working on.
I see.
So it's hard to sort of, like, see from the outside what was going on in that thaumaturge's brain.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide whether I've had one of these or not. Oh, it's a tough decision. To go odd, full odd.
But get out the old Into the Odd first edition book, just in case you decide to try one. Try one at some point this evening.
All right.
Because that had the full list of Into the Odd. It had the full list of oddities. So we will.
All right.
We'll sort of keep that in reserve in case you decide.
Yeah.
To take one
in a pivotal moment. All right. Cool.
All right. And Shucklers, it is been about a month since your last big job. Lots has happened. Yonarla and her entire crew just randomly disappeared and has not been seen. Some people whisper that she was last exploring Stormseal Island. There's been a quick rise and fall of people who are kind of successors in the world of treasure hunting, who are sort of well known, and then mysteriously die under strange circumstances while on jobs. But the latest person to sort of show up that we will kind of explore your relationship with as you may or may not encounter him is a retired judge named Crony Falco, Judge Falco to his friends. Judge Falco is an old noble who sort of became a judge through appointment and then eventually retired to preserve, in his own words, preserve the antiquities of the city. He doesn't generally go around armed, but he generally has a pet hawk with him. And is has invested a lot of his money into antiquities preservation, but has never really had a big find, but certainly puts a lot of cash or dough into his arrangement. I'd like to know, Wistar, what was your connection to Judge Falco before he left the bench recently?
I definitely think that Judge Falco presided over my citizenship hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of determined that I was a citizen of Bastion, and hit his little gavel and had his little stamp, and
nice.
That's about all I remember.
What was it about him that made you sort of innately distrust him?
Well, that did stick out. He had one eye that sort of seemed to move of its own volition, as if it was sort of looking around other things in the room while he stared at you. So
nice. Interesting. Okay. Rehlso. What do you suspect is the Jackal's connection to Judge Crowny Falco, or just Judge Falco?
I feel like the Jackal can't get away with, some of the flagrant and blatant things that he does. And so he must have some leverage on somebody, since extortion seems to be his thing. I kind of feel like maybe he is extorting the judge. I don't know what he has over the judge. Although there is something that's sort of a little bit weird. Maybe it's because I just don't quite have a total grasp on human features and all that stuff quite yet. Mm-hmm. But there's something about eyes and cheekbones that, Judge Falco reminds me a little bit of the Jackal. Or maybe Jackal reminds me of Falco. I'm not sure.
Nice. Yonarla has a good eye for cheekbones. And a recently deceased girlfriend of hers, of Yonarla's, was beloved for her cheekbones. Are you still hearing, occasional stories in the newspapers about the giant, it's just known as the pile, but it's like if somebody made a mockery of just a pile of stuff. It's apparently what it looks like, but it still kind of is wandering around Bastion, leaving gifts for poor people, and still kind of appearing here and there with a slight smell of smoke coming off its fur. What has been outside of the trying to go legit in the business concerns, what has Yonarla been up to besides hiring these two fine gentlemen? One fine gentleman and Wistar, who is a fine citizen. What has Yonarla been up to?
That's new to me.
I feel like Yonarla has sort of started creating a base of operations, an office and all that. And I feel like mostly what she's been doing is going out to she's been going to, like, she's been making a name for herself in a strange sort of way. And she's been invited to various soirees of geographical societies and of things here and there. And, she's just building a network of connections, as well as casing joints of various wealthy people, to, see if there's anything worth stealing and selling back to them. Just sort of the game in Bastion in some ways.
Nice.
And but mostly just being social, whining and dining, and the occasional murder as is necessary to keep business running smoothly.
Cool. Um, you know that Rehlso has a history with the jackal. What does the jackal owe Yonarla?
So, just brush me up on the jackal a bit.
He's a figure who's got a weird facial tattoo and is trying to extort Rehlso for protection money, or just like leave me alone money.
Right.
What does the jackal owe Yonarla though? And is the Rehlso, is the jackal a man, a woman, ambiguous?
I definitely think he's a man, and okay. I definitely think he tries to throw that around.
Okay.
And he's human.
Yep, apparently. It looks strangely like your latest rival.
I just pictured what's his face from Beauty and the Beast. Just that kind of obnoxious maleness.
Okay, yeah. Well, you know what? I feel like I found something out about him. So wait, are you implying that he is in fact the judge?
Possibly.
Okay, possibly.
I think they're younger. Sorry, I think the jackal is notably younger than the judge.
Okay.
I was thinking more like family resemblance.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, I feel like the jackal. I feel like probably, as is the case with Yonarla, she and the jackal used to be lovers, and wow. Okay. It's just sort of how Yonarla goes. I mean, that's what she does at the soirees, as well as casing the joint. And I feel like she has some significant dirt on him about his family's heritage and ties to the deep country, and maybe like ties to deep country separatist militant groups. So.
Interesting. Very nice. Thank you. All right. So, as a team, the three of you have been tipped off that the Council for the Condemnation of Buildings for the lower 15th Ward has condemned the old interfaith center that was founded in Bastion about like 10, 15 years ago. It was in an old sort of city palace, like an old kind of palatial government building. And they sort of redid the interior about 10, 15 years ago, pretty much when most of you guys, except for Wistar, were children. Wistar was a gleam of a gleam of a gleam in several grandparents' eyes, I think, 15 years ago. Does that sound about right, Wistar?
Yes, that sounds quite right.
Yeah. They closed that down, and they created what they called the Bastion Interfaith Hotel, which was a spot where various religious groups could form a shrine in a common space and then share dialogue with each other. And then everybody could sort of see their neighbors' religions, or the old religions that people weren't practicing anymore. And it was just kind of a big, all-purpose, multi-deity shrine house, just to show off how robust the religious life of Bastion really was. It was put together by the Interfaith Council of the Southern Section, and spearheaded by a woman who was simply known as the Sage of Loon. She was kind of a mystic who people came to for advice, a little bit of a fortune teller, very charismatic and generally beloved. But the Sage of Loon has not been seen in a number of years. After kind of an initial rush of enthusiasm and a lot of money invested, the upper crust and the middle classes of Bastion never really shined to kind of a multi-faith, multi-deity building. They all sort of return to their little personal mystery cults and family ancestor shrines and the old big temples. And the building just kind of got shut down, and was pretty heavily boarded up until the condemnation order came down this week. What was interesting to you, all three of you, is that while Crowny Falco is no longer a member of the judiciary, he seemed to have been involved in advocating for the building to be condemned. So there's potentially something he's either trying to hide here, or either something he wants to be able to bring out without too many questions being asked. So the building's been condemned, and the demolition teams are planning to start work, kind of bringing things out and down later this week at some time yet to be announced. It's possible it's going to rain. It's always hard to tell in Bastion because it's foggy and smoggy during the day, especially in this part of the South Ward, or the South District. And there's a lot of industry in the 15th Ward, so it's the skies are pretty smoky. It's hard to tell if it's going to rain or not. But there's rumors that it's going to rain, and they're not going to be able to do a lot of demolition work, so it's kind of hard to tell when they're going to start. But tonight may be your last chance to get in here and to figure out what you can get. It's about a 3-story high building. It's been boarded up and secured for an extended period of time. And the word on the street is that no one's made such a big deal or gotten it published that these demolition permits have been released. You've been able to sort of work them out from your contacts, what's happening. But several people who would normally be quite interested in getting in and exploring are also a relatively superstitious lot who are worried about pissing off the gods or other powers of the cosmos, and have been a little iffy about trying to get into the Interfaith Center. It's got one big main entrance, but there may be some other entrances you may be able to try to get up and around the building. It's sort of built up on sort of a large pedestal. So the area that would normally be the first floor is kind of is about a 7 or 8 foot high kind of chunk of marble on which the rest of the building stands. So otherwise it's just kind of a large block building. Like I said, it's an old sort of government palace. You'd imagine that the areas around the edges are pretty nice because they have open air and lots of windows, and probably originally is a bunch of offices and other crummy spaces toward the center. And there's what looks like a large dome on top, kind of a helmet dome shape, that makes up most of the third story. Is just kind of this helmet dome on top of these 2 large block kind of government building looking things. It's got lots and lots of outer decoration that kind of predate its use as a shrine building, but the shrine certainly added lots of decoration to the outside of the building. So there's lots of decoration. It's a very ornate building, but the windows have been boarded up for a while, and the doors have been locked and until very recently guarded. What's your plan for getting in? Like I said, there's one big visible front door. There may be some side doors. There may be some windows you can unbar. Kind of what's your plan for getting in?
What do you think, boss?
I feel like going in the front entrance is just so... It'll do in a pinch, but maybe we should see if there are some urchins who could help us find a different way in.
It would be a little brazen. I said it would be a little brazen, but then again, everybody seems to avoid the place. Maybe it's what we should do.
It would be a good way to mark our territory, I guess. Yeah, let's just go in the front door and see what's happening. Yeah, and we'll just have the urchins go in first. So, if anything hurts them, we can just wait for the screams to die down and see what we can find out. The distraction. So, Stinky, can you find some urchins for me? I'm busy.
Who's going to talk to the urchins?
I think Rehlso and I kind of like look at each other when she says Stinky, and
I think I put up my hands in rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot!
Once again.
Okay. All right, I'll go and talk to the urchins. I mean, we can probably work something out.
I will tell you the urchins of the 15th Ward, especially in the southern half, are a well-organized and industrious lot. And instead of sort of breaking into gangs, they've sort of formed a guild. I mean, they're kids, so it's sort of a high drama guild. It's a very there's lots of fighting and lots of infighting, but they are a well-organized lot. They've actually got some organizers working with them on their kind of guild structure, and so making connections with them is a complex process, Wistar. But
I'll take the official order form from Yonarla, and I'll
Yeah.
walk up to their sort of clerical counter.
It is it's like it is all on the street. It is sort of like, it seems like it's going to be informal until you start talking to people who have to call other people over, and then there's a process of introducing you to people outside the rite, and then you have to go under a bridge and talk to a kid who won't come out and talk to you, but will kind of whisper to you from inside a box.
I finally get to the counter. It's like a ramshackle like thing, like from Peanuts. The like
it's very much counter. Like there's like a couple of overturned carts, and there's kind of a teenage girl sort of standing behind the overturned carts, big shoulders, very much not somebody you want to like mess with. She's wearing several visible knives, and you're pretty sure her shoes and her shirt sleeves hide more knives. And she looks over your paper, and Rehlso, are you there as well?
I was feeling like I would let him take care of that on his own, just being somebody who's a little more used to the gutter. I don't want to be, I want them to feel comfortable around him. And I was thinking maybe I could do some scoping on my own separately.
Just a reminder too, Wistar's goes by they. So.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. Right. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah.
No problem. So I think I've got like this form, and I have the form XD5 for 3 urchins. It's been double notarized by the boy under the bridge. I think everything's in order.
She looks over and she's like, "Yeah, well, I think we got just the team for you. It's going to cost 2 shillings."
Oh, 2 shillings. The running total here said only 1.5.
This is going to be 4 shillings if we use credit, not cash.
Goodbye.
I feel like I sent money with Stinky.
How much did you send?
I feel like I would send, I would have sent a full pound in assorted bills and coins.
Okay.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I'll pull out. So this would be considered like coin then, right? Not credit.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. 2 shillings. Hold on. Clink. I'll pass it along. I don't understand this arcane bureaucracy. So many forms, letters. As soon as make this contract into a nest.
It's just like, you don't need to understand it. You just need to fill out the form.
All right. Well, there you go. And the shillings, the form. You have a team.
And she does a kind of a long, complicated set of whispers. And a young girl about probably older just based on height, but kind of otherwise looking like she's about 10 years old. Just walks up to you, extends her hand, explains her name is Lula. You've got Team 652 at your service. She's checked your form. You have them for a period of approximately 3 hours. And wants to know when would you like to start at the traditional sunset period? Do you want to wait till after dinner? Do you want midnight assistance?
Oh, jeez. Can we just start with the base package? I don't want the insurance.
No, there's no insurance. No insurance. So all right, we will meet you at the traditional sunset period.
Okay. One special request.
Yes.
I'll throw in another shilling if you'll all go and roll around in that mud. Listen, my boss has been calling me stinky lately, and I understand where she's coming from, but if there was someone around who was maybe more stinky than me, I might catch a break.
All right. I think maybe we can make an arrangement. I tell you what, you show up tonight. 2 shillings. We'll let you preview, and you can just tip us the extra 2 shillings off the books, please.
Yeah. I can do it.
And we'll go from there.
Okay.
So let's move us to the meeting with Team 652. Unless Rehlso or Yonarla, there's specific things you'd like to do before getting there.
I think the only thing that Rehlso wanted to check out was sort of observe during the day and skulk around in some of the side alleys, see if there was access to the sewers, see if there's a high building nearby that, possibly we could throw a gangplank over, rooftop to rooftop, just some other means of entry, just to see if it's possible. He's kind of spending his day just sort of looking around for what is another possible way of entry.
Right. I'd like you to go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw. So you're going to roll a d20 and just try to get under your dexterity, which is a 6. And just tell me what you get.
I got a 5, actually.
Congratulations, sir. So yeah. You get a pretty clear picture that the sewer system from this building is all pretty much small pipes. There's not like there's no large drain sort of heading up into the building. It's quite possible that what am I trying to say? That
there's no primetime television type steam tunnels or anything.
Yeah, there's not some primetime television type steam tunnels. Something the size of a kid could possibly get in through the drainage in the building, but not something the size of an adult. You're not sure exactly where, but that kind of like large sort of like slab of marble, or at least sort of marble around the edge that may just be a slab of concrete. So there's not a large kind of pipe or anything coming up into the building. So there's also it's kind of a town square type structure where there's sort of a broad boulevard kind of forming a square around all 4 sides of the building.
Okay.
So it's pressed in a little bit. It's no longer, but it's a good 20, 30 feet on each side between the building and the things sort of nearest to it. As it kind of forms a square kind of on all 4 sides.
So there's not urban sprawl that gives us access, but maybe at nighttime we might be able to throw across a rope and shimmy without being seen.
Yeah. If you were able to get from the rooftop to the rooftop, you might be able to throw across a rope and shimmy. But getting into those buildings across the street would be the challenging part. There's kind of a narrow kind of green park around the building, right around the edge of that kind of marble fronted slab. And then there's a street. The street is like 10, 15 feet wide. It's pretty good. It's pretty good width for a street. So it's about 20, 30 feet on every side. So you need to tie down, sort of shimmy across about 20, 30 feet of rope. You're pretty sure Wistar could do it.
Okay.
It'd
Then maybe
more
instead
challenging for you in Yonarla. So yeah.
Maybe instead of spending the rest of my time looking for just side entries, I'd be trying to scope out which of these buildings might be the easiest access, just so I can bring it up when we meet up with the others, and then
Now you can see the side entrances. There's of course the big main entrance, but the side entrances, as you're kind of looking around during the day, you notice that doesn't seem to be an official side entrance or an official secondary entrance, but there's definitely a little bit of a ledge on top of the slab before you get to the kind of formal part of the building. So if you were able to stand on the ledge and pry the wooden planks off some of the windows, you'd be able to do that. And you'd guess that that's probably what the urchins are going to try to sell Wistar.
Okay. Would there be any possibility, just to make it easier for us if we need that entryway, as opposed to just going in gangbusters through the front door, to almost like pick from a top story of one building down to a like second story window type of thing, so that it's more of a zip line than a shimmy straight across?
Oh, yeah. Theoretically, the problem is you'd need to be over on that second story to sort of get it secured.
Oh, okay. So there's not simply like grappling hook through a window type of thing.
Yeah, and with all that decorative and ornamental stuff on the roof, there's if you could get onto the roof, it'd be pretty easy to tie it off.
At which point we'd already be on the roof. So.
Yeah. The problem with that second story is it's harder to get a firm idea of what would be sturdy enough to my vocabulary has left me, but some of those figures that you would normally see kind of attached to the side of a building may not be the sturdiest thing to tie something off to.
Okay. Well, I'll take that to the meeting with the others so I can at least prefer it as options.
Nice. Okay. Yonarla. I think you may be muted, Jennifer.
I sure was. Yep.
That's okay. Anything else you want to do before you guys go in?
Mostly, I want to see if, I kind of want to see if our thaumaturgist has cooked up anything of any use to me for this mission.
Let me take a look. You spent some good money on that thaumaturgist. He should have done something worthwhile. There we go. All right. Give me 1 second. Scroll down. He's actually got a couple of things you might be able to put to interesting use. One is mildly heavy, and it takes a moment to set it up. But it comes with a battery, an electrical battery attached. And if you attach something to, if you attach the battery to what looks like a very large sort of heating coil, and then plug the heating coil, or just attach the heating coil in some way to the end of something else, it will miniaturize. And then if you reverse the connections on the battery, it will expand back. It doesn't work fast, and it's a little kind of hard to mess with. But it's called a miniaturization coil. The other thing you have is something he's been working on for a while. And this is something he has not had time to adequately test in the laboratory, which probably is not the first time he's used those exact words with you. But this is if you yell out something you want someone to do, and sort of like it's kind of one of those things that's almost like a large perfume bottle with sort of the misty, the kind of the mister bulb on top of it that you just compress and spray out a little bit at a time. But if when you do that, if you get it right in somebody's face, you can give them a one-word command of a physical thing to do. You have to yell it really loud just as you're hitting them in the face with it, but it kind of gives them a suggestion of a thing they should do. So like fall or drop, run.
Okay.
He says it's not been tested, and he's got enough for about 3 doses of it.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah. So yeah, he's quite proud of it, but he's like, I've not tested it. There may be some side effects. You might not want to use it on anyone if you're concerned about their long-term well-being.
I mean, you know, I'm not concerned about anyone's long-term well-being, except yours, my dear. You're so helpful and a really good decision as far as businesses are concerned. But
He looks at you very shyly.
the rabble I get to the other rabble I get to take with me on adventures as well.
And
We'll see what
Wistar, you're supposed to meet the urchins right after sunset, or right at sunset.
Absolutely.
Kind of in that little park right around the building. Just as the lamps are getting lit. Now, one thing you did notice, Rehlso, is that Rehlso, sorry, is that most of the lamps around the building have been busted. So, like random street vandalism, no one's bothered to fix it. But it is kind of slightly odd that someone would deliberately bust out all the lamps right around one building.
I was going to say, up and down the street, it's not like it goes past the temple. It's not, further down the street. There's also...
it's spontaneously, you see lots of lamps that just get busted,
Mm-hmm.
but not like all lamps around one building. But it is a pretty destitute street square.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like they put up a lot of new tenements around there. So it may not be getting as much attention as it once did.
So I'm meeting these urchins nearby.
And I assume the rest of you are joining him to meet the urchins.
Oh yes.
The deal was they would get you in.
Yeah.
Is that right? All right, Wistar, you are back. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay. So I'm imagining I'm meeting them somewhat nearby.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of pacing back and forth with these two buckets waiting to meet them.
All right.
And I think when they show up, I'm going to be like, okay, my boss is going to be here any minute. Hurry.
And they come up. They are already sort of looking the picture of the grimy urchin. They've got their hair is sort of matted with mud, and they kind of smell like old fish. And it's three girls and a boy. It's Lula and a bunch of kids who are shorter than Lula but look about the same age. One of them is a little odd. I mean, all of them smell a lot like fish. Wistar. One of them, instead of being muddy, looks like she had a massive kitchen disaster. Like she's covered in flour. There's what looks like egg yolk, sort of dripping, dried egg yolk, sort of dripping down one of her sleeves. And her hair is sort of like pulled back, and she's got sort of like what smells like a mixture of sugar and cheese, just sort of kind of wiped along the side of her face and in her hair. But otherwise, they seem to have done a pretty good job. And Lula kind of gives you the eyes, like, good.
It's a good start. It's a good start, but you got quite the competition. Let's just say that. Look, I kind of like reach into these buckets. It's like buckets of like chum or something like that. Mm-hmm. I got these off the wharf. Just rub a little bit under your armpits or something.
They all four sort of like sniff around at it and look up at you, and Lula's like, 4 more shillings.
4 more shillings? Look, the 2 you got's going to be plenty enough to go get a hot bath.
Yeah, I mean, but that's, you're just paying us for the hot bath at that point. We just, we want a little more beyond the hot bath for the trouble.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I mean,
how many shillings are in a pound, by the by?
I believe 20 shillings in a pound, since there are 5 pennies in a shilling.
Okay.
So I guess I'm curious, how many shillings could Wistar kind of get away with taking from the budget here?
You have a pound in shillings. You've got 20 shillings.
Actually, I just double checked. 100 pennies per pound, 10 pence is a shilling.
Okay, sorry. You've got 10. Thank you. You've got 10. You've got 10 shillings. I apologize.
And you've already used 4?
You've already used 4.
All right. I'll give you 3 shillings, please.
So you're like, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Chum up, friends.
They don't look enthusiastic about it, but they start sort of sloshing it on each other. Just before I think Yonarla and Rehlso show up.
Fling the buckets into an alley.
You guys are all there with Lula. As you guys walk up, Lula goes to shake everybody's hand. She introduces herself. She says they're Team 652 of the South 15th Urchins Guild. Duly registered with the council. She wants to know if you want to see her registration papers or if you're ready just to get down to business.
I probably sniff a couple of times as I walk up and kind of eye them a little
They
for
are foul smelling.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
smelling like a smorgasbord. But I just kind of say nothing and kind of just look at Yonarla to see how she reacts to the whole thing.
Yonarla, what do you say?
Still on mute, maybe?
Yeah, you're still on mute, Jennifer. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I was having trouble getting it off mute.
I am. Yeah.
Anyway, so I go up and I'm like, "Are these your children, Stinky? My goodness.
We're registered.
Don't bring-
We're registered urchins. Do you want to see the papers, or you just want to get?
Yeah. Give me the paper. Stinky, give me the change.
Sure, boss. Price of urchins gone up. I think because they have to take so many baths. Look how they smell so horrendous.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
also guild. We're also guild.
here's one, boss.
Pricing
And I get
union labor. I just sort of mutter to myself.
7 shillings, nearly a pound.
You got 4
Okay.
urchins, all guild, all guarantee quality. She shows you her guild papers, showing that she's duly registered with the council. Member, registered team leader.
But I do pay a subscription fee. This is outrageous. This is fine for now, but I'm going to have to talk to your leader after this.
I'm the leader. I'm the leader.
Oh no. Yeah, you're the leader of your little crew. I'm gonna have to talk to the boss, the big boss. We're fine right now. It's all good. It's all good in the hood. I just it's just I haven't had this happen to me before, and like maybe my underling forgot to talk up the subscription fee I pay. But okay, we're good. We're going over to the Interfate building right there, and
You are
you're
right
gonna
by
help
it.
us get in.
It is getting pretty friggin' dark. But you can still sort of see. She takes you up the front stairs, like you're going into the front door, and then sort of her crew goes up sort of one way. She splits off in one direction. Her crew sort of splits off in another direction, kind of shimmying around the side. And she sort of waits for you and sort of directs you around to the left. She's like, we're going to go into back way. You'll provide your own lights under contract, I believe. Standard, you bring your own torches. You may want to wait until we get you into the doors to light the torches. We'll wait for you at the point when we come in, just so in case you need assistance getting out, for up to 3 hours from the time we met. So 2 hours and 53 minutes. She kind of shrugs. At that point, we'll give you a call out if you don't respond.
Okay, all right. Time is money. Let's. The formalities are not needed. Let's do what you do.
So she's going to gestures to you to follow her along the kind of the narrow ledge around the boarded up windows of the first floor.
Uh-huh.
And I'd like everybody to make a dexterity check or a dexterity saving throw, just to kind of keep their balance on this narrow ledge.
Jeez.
So, how exactly does failure work in this game?
Boss, I was thinking, now that there's all these, we're surrounded by these stinking orphans, that maybe calling me Stinky might be a little confusing, or you might say that and you get 4 pairs of eyes turned to you. Maybe I could have a different nickname for this mission.
The urchins don't need a name.
Let's start with kind of who are you letting go first? Let me ask you that.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask Yonarla to kind of roll the dexterity there.
Okay, I rolled a 2, so I did succeed. But I guess I'm sending. I think I'm gonna go first with the urchins, and then have the folks follow me thereafter.
All right. So who's going right after Yonarla? Because the urchins have split up. Lulu's kind of leading your group sort of around the left side of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And the other urchins are kind of going around the right side of the building.
Oh, damn it, Rehlso. I thought I might have earned a new name.
Well, I look at Wistar and say, 70 pennies? Was it 70 pennies you spent on them? How much are we going to make out of this? And I think it's because I'm sort of looking over my shoulder at him when I start following along, that I'm not really looking at my footfalls, and the 12, which far exceeds my dex of 6, kicks in.
So you kind of get to that. You're kind of talking as you get to that kind of first bend, or that first turn where you go to the far side of the building. And Wistar, I'd like you to make if you want to. I mean, he is sass talking you a little bit, Wistar. Try to catch Rehlso as he sort of takes a tumble.
I rolled the 12 from my dexterity.
Awesome. So you've got your balance perfectly.
So now I want to try to see if I can get his balance.
Yeah. So let's just call that a strength one, since it's a little easier for you. Also, you're pretty sturdy. You're a pretty sturdy former rat.
That's a success.
Awesome. What'd you get?
11.
11. Nice. Okay. And your strength is a 14, so you are, of course, in great shape. You're able to catch Rehlso before he sort of like tumbles over the side, and sort of brace him back against the wall.
I got my nice stick hook, kind of grab him with the hook and say, maybe we got to call you Slippery Toes. No, I got to work on that.
Clunky. That's got kind of a name, kind of a sound, maybe, that goes with Stinky. Stinky and Clunky. We could be an act. I'd rather not be an act, though. And I kind of put a hand on your stick hook to try and pull myself back up to the ledge.
Oh yeah, he actually kind of hooks you before you completely fall, and gets you back on the ledge. I think. Does that sound about right, Wistar?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like the main priority is just doing this before Yonarla notices the whole mess.
Rehlso, you notice something though as you sort of kind of lean out and get caught. At the same time, you were sort of casing the joint today. You saw somebody who really shouldn't be in the neighborhood.
Okay.
But it's not odd. I mean, he's a prominent member of society. He can go pretty much anywhere in Bastion he wants. But you're pretty sure he did not see. In fact, you're very sure he did not see you. You see, what looks like Judge Falco. It was hard to sort of pinpoint him. He's got those distinctive cheekbones and eyes, but and he's dressed much like he would whenever he was out in the town. But
did he have his hawk with him?
Did he have his? Yeah, he did. He did have his hawk with him, or what looks like a hawk. It's definitely hooded and sort of a little bit draped in cloth. But you would guess that's him, despite the scarf sort of wrapped around the lower half of his face. But he and a dark figure you can't make out, or sort of walking up the stairs. They've clearly not seen you, you guys, but they're clearly walking up the stairs behind you. Yonarla, you're now sort of like they're sort of lagging behind for whatever reason. You're now sort of right behind Lula, kind of clearing that sort of left side of the building, about to kind of flip around to the back. When you start to hear the sound of like crowbars kind of ahead of you, and you guess that wherever you're supposed to go in, the other urchins are already kind of clearing that, boarding away, with professional, the level of professional service you've come to expect. Probably maybe a little beyond what you've come to expect. Are you guys hanging back to watch the judge at all, or are you just kind of try to get on and get in?
I think I'm just taking note because he's going to be out of my line of sight pretty soon, right?
Yeah, if you keep moving along, he's going to be out of your line of sight unless you're sort of risking him seeing you.
I think I'm going to, as I get back up, sort of nudge Wistar and say, "Hey, do you see that? I mean, bend over, look." And I'll point down and I say, "What's he doing here? We should check. We should tell Miss Cavendish." And
yeah, I don't know. I've had enough paperwork for one day.
I tell you what, just keep an eye on him. I'll go let her know. And I kind of scamper off. Well, I kind of boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
but, get on after her.
Wistar, it doesn't take very long before the judge is joined by a couple of other dark, sort of hooded figures, who kind of have less distinguished caps and hoods and capes on, who seem to just let themselves in by the front door and close it behind them. Are you kind of rushing to catch up at this point?
Spent $7 on no good urchins. Didn't even get, still called stinky, and they just waltz into the front door. Better hurry up.
So you're hurrying back around to meet Yonarla?
Yes, that's the plan.
All right. Yeah, it doesn't take long to kind of meet Yonarla. As you guys clear that second turn back to the right, back to where the back side of the building, you see the urchins hard at work, clearing off and carefully removing and stacking the boards that are over a particular window, sort of near the corner you came around, Yonarla. And so they as soon as they see you, Lula moves to one side, and she sort of grandly gestures towards the window that you see has been carefully broken out before. So that now that you're sort of past the boarded up portion, there's the glass has been carefully kind of cleared out and pulled away so that you can get inside. In fact, even the portions that were sort of stained glass that had sort of the metal braces holding the stained glass in place have been sort of like bent back so that an adult-sized person can crawl inside. Yonarla, anything you want to say to them, or you just want to head in?
Two of you are coming with me with that price. I feel like there should be uses for you in the interior. I don't want to pay 7 shillings for you just to wait around for 3 hours, and if we don't show up, you're gone. I need some more. This is just negotiations. Will continue.
Lula sighs and she looks at one of the girls and she's like, "All right, we'll go."
Probably about that time I
Thank you.
come up and I'm like, Miss Cavendish, Falco is here. I don't know what he's doing here, but he's here. He just came in through the front door.
And you can quickly get there about that time, Wistar. It's not moving as dexterously as you do, it's not hard to get around the edge of the building there.
Yeah, they went right in the front door.
Are you guys
we could.
Are you guys otherwise heading in?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And Lula looks at you and she's like, "So you'll get the jump on them. You know, we got you in around the back entrance."
And I do appreciate that. You'll continue to help us get the jump on them as time goes on. Thank you so much for your service. And she
Right,
kind of gives like a curt nod to the two who are staying outside.
The other two actually both kind of come. All four of them sort of come in after you guys do, just so that they don't have to kind of stand on that sort of narrow ledge for several hours. And the room you're in, is looks like it was once a shrine, and it's just sort of, but right now it's sort of empty. And they all sort of come in, and you guys are in there. It's a big sort of empty stone room, and what used to, clearly used to have a fairly ornate window toward the outside that was kind of filled with kind of stained glass and tempered glass. Clearly a lot of things have been pulled out of this room. You can see scuff marks on the floor, but there's sort of like and there's kind of doors off. It's near the corner, so there's kind of a door facing back towards the front of the building, and there's a door sort of off along, running sort of parallel to the back end of the building. So the door kind of to your right, forward and to your right, that would lead you along that left side of the building you had originally come along from the outside. And then a door that would kind of lead you further along the back of the building on the inside. And there's not much left besides a large kind of oily looking wet spot along the far wall from where you guys came in. That smells sort of weird and vinegary. And there's not much here besides that. What are you guys gonna do? Lula and Una have decided to come with you.
Would this be an appropriate time to take a bio break?
Yeah, let's take a bio break. About 5 minutes, good?
That'd be good for me. Thank you.
All right.
So I will admit, I have not read through the module, but I saw like the picture of the map.
Oh yeah, the map is actually random. So that's actually you'll see me playing with dice down here. But that tells me which of the shrines you get to.
I love that idea in the module adventure, whatever, where it's like the hundreds of different shrines or whatever all put into one place.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a really cool thing.
Yeah, I really love this one. I've liked all the ones of Michael's that we've done, and it's been a lot of fun to kind of go through these put together, especially to kind of add that sort of quasi steampunk sort of China Miéville-ish edge, or bring out that to him, and he's been really supportive and helpful in this. Then I realized as I was doing that I needed to be mapped. Since it was a random map, I needed to be mapping myself so that if you guys backtracked, I could take you back to the same place without relying on my short-term memory. So that I'll remember what you've seen and what's going on.
Do we need to be doing any mapping of our own, or
it certainly wouldn't hurt. But I'm keeping a map of places you've been. I also, because you don't repeat numbers, there's never you can never go to the same shrine twice. I need to remember what numbers have been rolled. So,
okay.
All right.
You can never go to the same shrine twice.
I may let you go. Yeah, no. If you go back, you'll be there. But you wouldn't get a whole bunch of random, shrines to, you won't get a whole bunch of random shrines to Zeus right in a row.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
So, and there's only so many shrines to cat gods, because they don't like it. They only want you to be there when you're trying not to be there. All right. So you guys are in that shrine that looks like it was sort of, the art was ripped down from the walls, and what is in it was hauled off to another part of the building. It certainly could not have been pulled out through this window that you guys just came in from. Lulu will tell you that they, before they got better at patrolling the place, they had a brief time where they hid out here in this room, but there was too much weirdness going on and in the other parts of the building, and everybody stopped hiding out here.
What sort of weirdness? What do you mean?
We just hear crying, or, clearly something was coming in. We weren't the only things in here, and someone was still moving around. Just weird stuff. We didn't really go exploring in the space. We really just kind of used this space as a hideout. We kept the doors closed. We tried to kind of bolt them or lock them, but it wasn't particularly useful. So eventually we just decided to hell with it. We joined the local and started doing registered jobs, moved into the union hall, the guild hall, got our council papers, and kind of went from there. So, we don't have to break into abandoned buildings to hang out there anymore.
Huh. Oh, so you mean your crew specifically?
Well, I mean, like, this technically before I was part of the crew. I mean, like, the graduates are the ones who did it, but I am the oldest member of the crew. Una's just kind of rolling her eyes the whole conversation. So where do you want us to? Which way are we going? Lula just looks.
So how many doors are there?
There is the door that sort of leads along the back side of the building. Mm-hmm. And then since this was pretty close to the corner that you guys turned right before you kind of came in this window, there's a door that leads along the left side of the building where you guys first sort of came around the edge and walked across.
Okay. I mean, I'm just trying to get back to the entrance to like see what's going on with our rivals. Apparently. Also, just as a note, I did purchase a hound. I made some purchases.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Earlier, so I have a dog with me.
Okay.
I
think you mean in character.
Yeah. Yeah, I made some in-character purchases, I guess.
Right,
So
right.
what? Yeah. So
I hate that dog.
It smells good.
yeah, it does. Of course
nice
it does.
dog.
Is it a very fancy looking dog too? Is it like a very fancy looking dog?
It's a pit bull.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. It's a pit bull, but it's like chocolate pit bull, like that kind of color of fur. It's a fancy pit bull, but it's still a pit bull.
Nice.
Anyway, so I'm just gonna, I guess, go to the left to get towards the entrance.
All right. So you're going towards, so you're going back along the side of the building towards the direction you came in. And you open this place, and it's this wasn't even a shrine. And who's kind of opening the door, and who's standing back, and kind of what's paint the picture for me.
I think I've finally unlimbered that giant gun that I have.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of standing off to one side of the door since Wistar has their little hook. I figure they're going to be poking and prodding at the door to make sure that it's safe before we all kind of shove it open to proceed.
I appreciate your OSR sensibility there, because I forgot. That's a good thing to have as a 10-foot pole.
Also, we have urchins who are opening doors for us.
Oh, so you just kind of motion to Lula to open the door?
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got kind of Rehlso kind of right there. Are the other two of you hanging back? Or are you kind of like standing where you can sort of see through the door? Or are you trying to like take cover?
I think, I imagine maybe like Rehlso on one side of the door and maybe Yonarla's on the other side of the door. So I'm kind of left to just stand back and hold on to my stick.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Lula's 11, so she's both very limber and is delighted to do things with her feet. So she kind of goes into like a slow motion action movie pose where she like extends her left foot and works the knob of the door with her foot and then sort of like pushes it very gently in, and it swings into the other room. And she turns and does a little bow, half curtsy thing. Una rolls her eyes again. And it's really not much there. There's and what are you guys doing for light, and who's carrying the light source? One of the basic rules of this game is you always have enough torches. We just need to know who's holding them.
Since my gun is bulky, I think I have to leave that to one of the urchins to be a torchbearer.
Una will gladly hold a torch. She's talked Wistar out of a lot of money. She will gladly hold a torch. And she kind of like with a sense of ennui that only a 10-year-old can muster, sticks the torch into the room. And it's a smallish room. There's a set of stone spiral stairs going up to the next level. And you saw again, there's like 2 levels that are kind of this block, and then there's a dome on top that forming sort of the 3rd floor. And then there's a you guys are going along that sort of left side wall. And just past the stairs, there's sort of a curtained entryway, and then to the left of the stairs, there is there's another doorway, sort of to the you're going along the left wall, you're going like right here to the left of the stairs. There's another small, tiny kind of wooden doorway, and there's a curtained entryway past the stairs. And of course, the stairs are going up, and you hear from sort of where the stairs sort of spiral up, and you can't really see from where you're standing. You hear sort of a low sobbing, like someone is crying on the stairs.
Do we hear any sounds that could be Falco or whoever it was that looked like Falco, either thumping of feet or, banging of tools?
Not right now. You're not hearing anything right away.
Then I look at Yonarla and Miss Cavendish. What would you like to do then? Do we want to try and get back to the entrance and double back on the others, or we just want to go towards the weird crying?
Oh, someone there?
Oh,
you hear?
I jump.
The crying stops, and there's just like someone there.
Come and find out.
Oh, good one, ma'am.
And you hear footsteps kind of come down the stairs. And you see, like in the light that Una's holding up, what looks like a very young, very handsome, almost entirely naked man with just sort of a loose flowing sash around his waist. It almost gives you the impression that it's almost just sort of there by accident. Like it's just there, just, oh, I'm completely naked, but there was the sash just kind of flying by just when he looked. And he turns and he looks at the 3 of you, the 3 grown-ups, and kind of gives you sort of a coy, surprised look. Like his eyes are completely red, and the space but underneath his eyes is completely red. And he's having trouble making the correct facial expressions because he's clearly so upset about something. But he enters in what would almost be like, if this was a painting, he would be standing in what would be a flirtatious pose. Like he brings his knee halfway up, and he sort of brings his hand to his heart and tilts his head to the side. But like his like the actual expression on his face is actually sort of like trying way too hard to look flirtatious, despite the fact that his eyes and face are really puffy from crying.
Kid, what are you doing here?
And then he kind of shifts position and kind of gives a very forced smile, kind of kicks his heel sort of back behind him. And the cloth does not seem to actually move really naturally. The little bit of cloth that's sort of covering him does not seem to move very naturally. And he kind of moves his shoulder forward. And he's just like, I'm really terribly lost. and I'm not really sure how I got here.
Well, where should you be? I mean, where were you going? I was a little bit lost when I first got here too.
He's like, oh, I'm.
I say as I'm pointing a gun at him.
He kind of shifts position to another sort of like textbook flirtation pose again, and sort of brings his hand up over his mouth, and he says, like, I'm supposed to be in the shrine of Yonarla, the goddess of love.
Yeah.
But I have no idea where that is.
Do you think the goddess of love is also the goddess of having fat shillings laying around?
Fat what?
Doesn't concern you.
But what? I could not. What? She's the goddess of love, desire, pleasure.
How did you get in here?
I don't know. Some man wanted me to follow him, and for some reason I went right after him. He looked briefly compelling, but then, he took me to another room, and I didn't like it there, and then I ended up here. I'm very confused.
Well, we're looting the place, so you can come with us, and perhaps we'll find what you're looking for. But you'll be safer with us, I guess, or you can keep crying. I don't really care one way or the other. I'm not going to help you find it actively, but
He puts his hand dramatically against his forehead and just like, are you freebooting adventurers?
I haven't quite earned the boots yet, just the overalls. I'm getting there. But maybe after this one.
Oh, well, such striking company. Perhaps you can help me find and return to the place I'm supposed to be. I'll come with you.
Well, Miss Cavendish, if he's come from that direction, chances are there isn't anything dangerous because he hasn't been eaten. Do you want to go that way?
I don't know where I came from. I just ended up here. I was crying. I was very upset. I don't recall taking stairs, but it was also confusing.
So the stairs go up to where he was. There's curtains on the other.
Oh, I was just sitting
side.
there. I was just sitting there because there's not a lot of places to just sit where people don't bother you. But yeah, there's the doorway with curtains on one side, and there's a wooden doorway kind of to your left, and kind of across from where you are back towards the front of the building. There's just kind of the curtained entryway to this little chamber.
And he came through which one? Or
he didn't know. He doesn't know.
Oh, so he was already in this. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, he was just here. He's been crying here. He's like, I don't know how long I've been crying here. I don't know where I came from. I don't know what direction I came from.
Yeah. True, there might not be anything up there, but at the moment, but do you think we should deal with our competition first, or we don't really know the layout of this place? So perhaps if we deal with the losers who came in through the front door, we won't. We'll have the place to ourselves.
You have competition?
That's a good plan, Cavendish. Let's do that. We'll get the jump on him.
All right. Come with us.
I'll hand him a torch. Here you go, boy.
He introduces. He says, "I'm Jabin. I'm the muse of youthful longing in the service to the goddess Yonarla. It's such a pleasure to meet all of you."
I'm Wistar. I'm Stinky.
Through no fault of their own,
Wistar,
of
like
course.
Jabin, like sort of takes your head in his hand and places a really gentle kiss on your forehead. He's like, "I think you're a perfectly lovely person, Wistar."
Well, you just hold on to that then.
To your forehead?
No, please.
Awkward.
Yeah, that little precious jewel of positivity.
Of course, I always will. I am not the muse of despondency or loss.
Well, I'm not looking from validation from you in particular.
Oh, of course not. In what direction were you guys headed?
I guess the curtains, if the curtains are going closer to the entrance.
That definitely seems like the sort of thing that Yonarla would go through, would be the curtains.
Are you doing the same thing where you ask Lula to sort of open the doors for you?
Actually, I feel like I'm just like I'm gonna well, is there a door on the other side of the curtains, or is it just like a curtains covering up an archway?
It's like this kind of thick tapestry level curtains that seem to just be like going through the. But Yonarla or Lula seems to be able to sort of pull them back.
Mm-hmm.
She tries to do it with her leg, but she actually kind of loses her balance slightly and has to correct herself and then sort of like haul them backwards. But there doesn't seem to be anything but a room beyond it until it's dark right now until you steps forward with her light.
Just pull them down. We don't need them. Just pull them down. Maybe the boy can wear them. I don't care. Or wait, do the curtains look particularly expensive?
Do the curtains look particularly expensive? They might be. They're not. They're not. Nothing is sort of embroidered onto them.
Let's just go.
But they are kind of a nice, heavy velvet cloth.
Meh. Next room.
So she does that. She pulls the curtains back. She tries to hold them open for you. It's a pretty slight open entryway. Una sort of sticks the torch through. And as soon as Una sticks the torch through, you see sort of like a room, a sort of a nondescript sort of room, sort of beyond. Just a lot of, there's a window along one side, but otherwise there's just a lot of brick and stone sort of layout. You see something like a urn, like a large urn or vase or something, or cistern, raised on something in the middle of the room, or a font of some sort. And then almost as soon as that happened, you see something sort of drop, and the torch goes out, and Una just screams, and she pulls her hand back, and there's nothing but sort of burned flesh where her hand was. And Lula just sort of drops the curtains, and Una looks like she's just about to bolt. And she's screaming very, very loudly.
Me too. I say, "Holy moly!" And I just probably fire off straight into the doorway.
Nice. Straight into which doorway? Which?
I mean, she pulled aside the curtain as it's like, when I saw that whatever coming down, I don't know if it was just a guillotine or something else, but I think my first reaction is just like to stiffen and I pull the trigger.
Oh yeah. As soon as she's clear, you pull the trigger, and you always hit in this game. There's never such thing as a to hit roll. Let's take a look at that. It fires a screaming disc. It's loud, it's bulky, and you roll a d8.
Okie doke. So I got a 6.
A 6. So there's this loud, almost
I think it's just
explosive noise.
I think it's just like, instead of a bang, it's like that initial sort of like high-pitched horror movie scream,
yeah,
that then like turns into just sort of like that kind of shrieking as the disc kind of spins off into the darkness.
Does the disc like have a mouth on it that screams?
I feel like maybe the gun is made to look like a mouth. Like maybe the whole thing seems like vaguely organic, like I'm sort of like squeezing on a creature and stuff is spitting out. It might just be aesthetics, but yeah, it doesn't. It's a little bit hard to determine if just the disc cutting through the air is making a screech-like sound, or if the gun itself is screaming as it spits out these discs.
So I will want to take a kind of a meta level pause here because I forgot to do something right at the beginning. I'm glad to use, or like in line with Gauntlet policy, we're always using the X card in this game. If anything comes in, does everybody know what the X card is? Use the X card before. Jennifer, I know you've done that before. If anything I get to seems disturbing, or I realize as I get to the violence, that if anything just seems disturbing or inappropriate or just frightening to you, or you just prefer to skip past it, you can either say X card, you can use the X card button on the roll for your party room, or you can just kind of cross your hands as an X and call out that just call out that you're ready to move past that. Just say X card. I have a tendency to go towards the body horror side of violence, and I don't want to make that impose on your fun tonight. So if anything starts to seem a little too much detail or anything like that, just go ahead and use the X card there. So thank you guys. But yeah, you definitely connected with something, and something that's kind of with that screaming, and it's sort of like hit part of the curtain and deflected, and then you hear it ricochet off in the room somewhere, and something sort of blackish green, slimy looking, starts to kind of come out from the bottom of the curtain where Lula dropped it back into place.
I think my alarm shows on my face more literally than just with my expression, as my whole like face, like first at the creases of the wrinkles and then the skin tone itself starts to just sort of like glow with this red that illuminates the space in front of me. Since I can do that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I think that's kind of what you guys are seeing by, since the torch has disappeared completely. And now that you have a second to think about it, the torch did not just like fall. It's not like Una dropped it or it was knocked out of her hand. It's like it just disappeared completely. Or was covered. And I think this thing is moving, this kind of slime thing is just kind of moving and spreading towards you. What do you do?
I think I'm gonna grab up Una and kind of like wrap her up in my cloak almost, and I'm gonna try to bang open that door to the left.
Okay.
And see if we can get through there, unless it's locked.
So you're gonna go to the left, and yeah, you're able to kick that door in pretty easily. And there go New York Emergency Services again. I
can still hear you.
Yeah, and then no, I was just looking. I was looking at something. And did let's do this. And you sort of right in front of the door, you see more of that same ooze that you just saw. Now Jabin starts screaming.
Sorry, the door that Wistar is heading toward, or
yeah, you knock open that door, it opens in, and you've got Una in your arms, and just as you see that, more of that ooze is sort of heading out from that door towards you.
Oh, time to turn around and go up the stairs, I guess.
I suppose I'm gonna throw one of my fire bombs onto the ooze and then head upstairs. I'm gonna grab Lula and head upstairs.
All right, yeah, you've got your urchin guides. You've got Jabin, and you run up the stairs. Who's the last going up?
Probably me, because I'm the slowest to react and then the slowest to move.
All right.
So not for lack of trying, but I take up the rear.
So, Rehlso, I'd like you to make a dexterity saving throw. Just try to get a 6 or under on a d20.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay. No, that's a 13.
Well, so you're going to take 5 damage as you kind of wait for the others to hustle up, as the ooze starts to pool around your foot and starts to burn away what's left of like your lower foot gear before you can sort of pull yourself free. Now, hit points in this are really just they're almost like armor or situational luck, or your ability sort of just to kind of free yourself from anybody else, or from anything constraining you. You get them back pretty quickly. Anytime you just stop and take a breather, you'll heal up, and you'll be fine. But as you run up, you hear the kids in the other room start screaming as they start to see the ooze, and they're like, "We'll meet you guys outside." And you hear them sort of hustling through the window. You get to the top of the
fire that she dumped on it seem to have any effect at all?
Oh yeah. And as soon as you kind of drop that fire bomb, I'm not even going to make you roll the damage, Yonarla. It just starts slowly consuming it completely. It really can't. The two pools of ooze start to collide with each other, and that sort of spreads the fire. You're pretty sure in a few minutes you'll be able to get back into that area.
Okay.
It's going to be smoky, and you smoke, and this kind of acidic, foul-smelling smoke is kind of chasing you guys up the stairs. But once you get up there, it's almost it looks like the top of that stairs. There's these stairs don't go any higher than the second floor, or the upper level. Jabin is panting from just one level of, despite having a very athletic form, he's panting from just running up one level of stairs. Mm-hmm. And the layout of the doors is much like it is on the floor below. So there's a door kind of right in front of you, a door right behind you, The door behind you goes to the back of the building. The door in front of you leads to the front of the building, and there's a door to your left that leads more to the center of the building. Now, if you take a breather, Rehlso can sort of get his hit points back.
So I come limping up the stairs and say, "So, what's good up here? I think that stuff will be dead in a few minutes. Stinks though."
And Jabin looks at you and she's like, "Your dear foot, your poor sweet foot." And it's just like, keeps kind of blotting his eyes to see if he can manifest some extra tears and trying to use that little bit of moisture to kind of clean away the acid burns around the clothes on your foot. And you can feel the fire start going out below. What do you guys do?
I'll kind of wrap up Una's hand in like a strip of cloth or rags or whatever.
Yeah. She's pretty surprised, but she's an urchin. She's pretty durable. And it seems to be sort of a clean cutaway, like it's cauterized almost. Whatever took her hand off, cauterized it itself behind it. So it's almost just sort of like a clean cut,
like through the bone and everything. It's just like,
yeah, it's just kind of gone. And it looks burned.
Yeah, you could probably go now, I guess.
And Lula's like, "Which way?"
I mean,
no one said this. Hold on. You are not in charge, Stinky. Come on. Go? No. We're continuing on this adventure, and you're contractually obliged to another 2 hours and 37 minutes now. Please, let's continue.
Her hand, it's gone.
Are you okay, urchin?
She looks at you, and like her eyes clear, and she kind of glares at Yonarla, and she's like, "I have a left hand too."
Good. I mean, this is you run a business, correct? This is a business that you're a part of, and you know you're the top of you're the top urchins in the city, and clearly this is a mark of that. Now let us continue. What else is in this room?
There's the 3 doors out. Yeah, she squares her shoulders back at you, Yonarla, and she's like, "Hand me another torch."
Am I wrong, Lula? Am I wrong to expect excellence?
Lula just looks at you like you are insane, but she's like, "You paid for it."
I look down at my own hands and I'm like, man, I better get that permit quick. Need to get a regular job.
Lula's like, "Yeah, you should just be aware that urchin insurance often comes after the responsible party for compensation." But
there's no responsible party here. How is a slime to compensate you? The slime is dead. I dealt with it. I took care of it. Square.
No
even.
Responsible party sounds about right to me. Where are we going, boss lady?
The condescension in your tone is palpable. I'm paying good money for this. I will. You know what? Take the other 3 shillings and speak not of it again. Speak with your managers as well. Now, let's continue. I don't know. I don't care. What do you think, Wrinkly Man?
Well, for trying to, I have at this point sort of like leaned up against the banister and I'm kind of just trying to sit down as the exchange goes by, trying to catch my breath and soothe the blisters on my feet. But as soon as she addresses me, I kind of stiffen up and say, I think if I haven't got myself turned around, the front entrance would be that way, maybe. And I kind of point in the direction that ought to be. So I guess that way, if we're going to try and get the jump on them.
And there's a door there?
There is a door there.
I'm just going to shoot the handle off the door.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. The handle comes right on off, and it sort of like swings too, because the handles are pretty much the only place kind of keeping them from sort of swinging the hindrance. It swings inward by about a crack away from you. Inward into the room away from you. So you have space to sort of look around the corner if you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And I gesture at the door and like pointedly look at Una.
So Una's got a torch now, and she sort of glares at you a little bit and then sort of walks towards the door. She puts the torch in. She sort of looks around the side. And then she just sort of shrugs. She kind of pushes the door inward, holds the torch out so you can sort of see. And you see this sort of ghostly male figure sort of dressed in sort of a nice manner. Maybe there's the thing draping over his shoulders is sort of an academic robe. Your thaumaturge sort of wears something like that. It's sort of just a nondescript, inexpensive suit with a dark robe over it. And he's a middle-aged guy with kind of a bushy mustache, but this is really just kind of his shade or his ghost, clearly, that the torchlight is capturing, because he's kind of ethereal. But he's, as the door swings open and he sees all of you looking at him, you see sort of what looks like a goblet sort of get clutched towards his chest as he sort of puts his like translucent like hands over it, trying to cover just to stop you from seeing it.
I don't think ghosts have much need for earthly possessions anymore, especially such a fine goblet as that.
I didn't know ghosts could hold things.
And you see kind of right behind him in the lamplight, you see this whole room is sort of filled with like statuary of cats, and they're very anthropomorphic cats. They're like wearing clothes and they're in crowds of people. They're sort of like they're around each cat is a little crowd of people. And the cat is meant to be doing things that are sort of outsmarting the person. And there's sort of like a big sort of statue of an anthropomorphic cat standing in the middle of the room. And under it is a table where these two itty bitty little figures sort of like, playing cards. And they just like, he won it fair and square. Bested both of us after we took everything else he owned. And they've got like a stack of kind of small, like cups and coins and treasures there. Like, it is, just let him take it.
So I think I had like my stick hook out a little bit, But then when I hear them and I see beyond and I see the cats, I say, "Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. I don't like this one bit."
Are you
That's
more of a dog person?
He talks dogs, cats.
I'd kind of put a hand on Wistar's shoulder and say, "Remember, you're the person now. It's
Right.
okay."
Yeah, right.
And the ghost sort of like backs up against the wall and is trying to like sneak along the wall closer to the door. Almost looks like he's planning to sort of just like rush around you.
I'm gonna like kind of sick the dog on the ghost to grab the goblet.
All right. Yeah, the dog is sort of like reaching up, and the ghost is like elevates the goblet just slightly out of the dog's reach, and he's looking sort of disturbed. He's just like, this please be civilized. Won't somebody just be civilized? It's just mine. It's very much mine.
I throw a knife at the goblet.
Yeah. You knock it right out of his hands. And right then Jabin points at the ghost and is like, that's the one who led me away.
So I assume one of the urchin picked, or I kind of point to the goblet at the urchin, and I'm just like, so what's this, ghost? You take children and take them into buildings?
Oh, that was Jabin, the guy from the nearly naked man.
Oh, Jabin, right.
Yeah.
So who is this? Who are you, and who's this naked person?
Just, I just wanted someone to have a conversation with. It's so hard to get good conversations these days since they closed the building. It's really unfortunate.
And just as a quick aside, so there's like two like miniature figures playing chess
cards,
or something, or cards
right
or
in
something.
front of that big statue of a cat.
Okay, and they're like miniature, like
They look like small people.
Like 6 inches tall?
No, like maybe around 3 feet. It's hard to tell. They're sitting down.
Oh, okay.
They're definitely feet, not inches.
But
Okay.
anthropomorphic cats.
Yeah, they're not anthropomorphic cats.
They're just tiny people.
Yeah, that's the only anthropomorphic cats are the statue, and then there's sort of frescoes on the wall that sort of look like various anthropomorphic cats outsmarting people.
Okay, so I'm gonna say to the ghost, I will have a civilized and decent conversation with you if you will help us out.
Yonarla, make a charisma saving throw. I don't know why I'm having you make that, but we'll see.
Just in case I roll a 20.
Just in case. It's not unheard of.
Give me a sec. I'll load this up. One. 14.
All right. He's like, all right. Someone who can have a conversation. That's very nice of you. We'll just need to go back downstairs. I have a lovely space downstairs that we could have a little conversation in.
I would like you to tell me more about this place. This space with the cats and such. How'd you get up here, and why are you up here?
This is Tristram, the god of luck. I mean, Tristram. I mean, he's classic Tristram. I mean, it's just. I mean, sure. I mean, he's like more well regarded in Deep Country, but it's Tristram, the god of luck. He keeps gesturing back at the cat statue. What are Rehlso and Wistram doing?
I think that just looking around, it seems like the ghost has not done much of anything other than sort of confront us. So I think I'd sort of edge sideways towards where the cup has fallen to pick it up.
It
if
is
no one's
a pretty ornate cup to your eye. So
yeah, I mean, if we're in here,
the ghost is clearly impressed by Yonarla and is looking at her. Yeah, you can pick it up before he realizes what you're doing.
I will attempt. I don't know how deft I can truly be, but to maybe slip it into a. I don't know. Is this a real literal game? If it does not say sack on the character sheet, we do not have one.
No. It's usually assumed that you have like your basic standard adventure equipment. You know,
Okay.
You have food, you have light, you definitely have sacks.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll just sort of like bend over, and while he's distracted, quietly slip it into a sack, and then kind of
make that dexterity saving throw, and then Wiston, what are you up to?
So I think
Wistar, sorry.
Wistar is like trying to psych themselves up, and they're saying, "You're a person. You're a person. You're a person." And it's like slowly taking steps into this room where the walls are surrounded by like deadly cats.
Mm-hmm.
He's walking towards that table with all of the jewels and coins kind of stacked on it.
Yeah. Are you trying to sneak up to it, or are you just trying to like bravely sort of get up to these small creatures and take their stuff?
I'm just gonna like talk to them, I guess, see what they're doing.
They seem to just be, as you get close, they don't seem to be paying much attention to you. They're just kind of looking at you, going like out of the corner of their eye, and going back to playing their cards.
What are you playing?
Baccarat.
Baccarat.
Baccarat, yeah.
Sounds like an interesting game. You play it on the back of rats, or?
No, I mean, you just played it that way because you used to gamble in rats.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Tristan would always, play for rats and then eat the rats because, everybody lost.
And I think like I kind of look up at that statue that's behind them, and like the torchlight's kind of like underlighting its face. It's like this big like cat with the like fangs sticking out. It's like, what do you play with now?
Oh, no one has rats in here, so we just play with actual, trinkets, and they point to like the little kind of miniature pile of valuables that they've got there.
How could I get my hands on some of those then?
You just find them here and there lying around. Clear out a few things, steal some from the mockeries.
Mm-hmm.
Typical stuff.
Where do you find the good stuff at?
What's the good stuff?
The stuff you wouldn't gamble away to hold on to.
Stuff you wouldn't gamble away, you'd hold. I mean, we're just stuck in here. I don't know what we'd hold on to. It's not like we have somewhere to spend this stuff.
Oh, you're stuck in here, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we're just, we're the little gnome acolytes of Tristram, the god of luck. Not much to do since they shut the place down. mean, the lady comes through every now and then, and you see the mockeries come in, and man, they love her. But otherwise, not a lot else going on. A group of urchins used to break in downstairs, but it's been years since we sent them. And he notices the kids kind of behind you and kind of wave.
The lady, is that that goddess of love?
Oh no, Enora?
Yeah.
And they point to the you got one of her decorative boys over there. But yeah, Enora, whatever. It's not like any god ever just kind of comes to visit their shrine because you put one up. Jabin looks really offended. Yonarla, what are you kind of saying to him? You've told him what you want to know. And what was that question you wanted to ask? Or to the ghost, I'm sorry. I'm using pronouns too widely.
Yeah, I'm just kind of pumping him for information about the building and about what he knows and how he came to be here. I am curious about that.
He's like about the building. He's like, oh yes, well, the Sage of Loon had it built by the Interfaith Council, and my disciples thought that a more philosophical divinity, not that I claim divinity, but certainly, enlightenment, somebody who could address things on a more ascendant, enlightened level could, be represented here. That there would be space for a philosophical society in the Exeter tradition.
Clearly. Now,
are you a philosophy student, madam?
One could say such things. I have a gift for gab, for sure. And I like to learn things here and there if it benefits me in the long run. I don't pursue knowledge for knowledge's own sake. But I use what I get to help me out whenever I can.
I like to think that anything I have to teach is beneficial to the people who learn it. What can I help you with?
What in this building is the most valuable thing that I could take?
Oh, what's the most valuable thing here? Now, let's just, do a thought exercise and think about what do you mean by
physical
value?
Object that people would pay money to have.
He gets really worried, looking like, well, certainly nothing downstairs. I mean, upstairs there's lots of art, and there's that lovely statue of Tristram that people, I think, have undervalued over the years. I mean, I think it's a beautiful standard, Tristram, and then
well, so here's the deal, my friend. This building has been condemned and is going to be demolished, and I am here on behalf of the museums and historical preservationist society, trying to find things that are small enough for me to carry out, worth the time of this city to learn more about. Now, if you could help me find some of the more interesting, beautiful and small objects that people would like to know more about and would be of great value to any learning institution, then I would be ever so grateful, and we could have many a conversation. Also, if you can leave this building, I don't know if that's a thing you can do, but I know this great coffee shop that you could haunt.
Really? You mean sincerely? Really? Honestly? I could haunt a coffee shop. I could maybe
Of
talk to
course,
some
of
people.
course. Yes, yes. I could do that for you if you could help me out to find the most valuable and educational things.
I mean, there's so many. Well, I'll just tell you what they say. There's lots of stuff, left over, but a lot of it's been ransacked and moved around. The mockeries have taken stuff and hoarded them into one side of the building or the other. What you really want are the sage's telescopes.
Ooh. And then I real quick cover up my mouth.
Yeah, I think everybody, like when he says that, everybody's like turns and is like the two kids playing cards, the two little figures playing cards are like, I'd put money on that being valuable.
And how about portable?
Well, some of the larger ones maybe not, but some of the smaller ones. I mean, they say that her telescopes don't merely make things look closer. They actually bring things closer.
Sounds pretty good, boss.
Well, if you could point me in the direction of these telescopes, we would certainly really appreciate it,
You'd need to
I could find a nice coffee shop for you.
Really? Really?
I swear it. I know a great one called the Dead Duck. It's in a very posh and trendy part of town too.
He and I'm gonna check something real quick. Sorry to get quiet. He points to the center of. He points kind of out to where you were, where you came in. He's like, take that direction towards the middle of the building. It's just, the sage always lived on the upper floors of the building.
Well, the sooner we're out of here, the better, if you ask me. Starting to get itchy.
It seems like it makes sense. I mean, if you want telescopes, those are those things for looking at the sky, right? I mean, of course you'd want to be on the top floor. So if we're needing to go toward the center, and then I start kind of looking around a little bit confused, not sure which doorway, kind of doing
go back to the last room, and then we take the middle door that goes towards the entrance, and I hold up.
That goes towards the center of the building.
I hold up my arm, and I've got this sort of back crudely drawn on.
Well done. So is that what you guys are doing?
I think so.
Yeah. Still worth your time, Lula?
I'll go get my things.
Meanwhile, what's the naked guy doing?
He's standing around confused. He's kind of glaring at the ghost and then sort of looking around at you confused. Well, he's the one who misled me and drew me out of Inora's service, and now
I'll just look at the two gnomes, and I kind of jerk a thumb at him and say, any idea which way to the Shrine of Love?
They laugh, sort of yeah, It's through the middle room where the stairs are, off to the other side. Yeah, but he's, all those paintings, and they gesture at Japanese, like all those paintings, they've been molded over for the last year or so. You got kind of a slime growing on them.
So he's probably not got much to go back to anyway.
Yeah, it's terribly sad. Yeah, well.
Well, look, kid. I mean, if your paintings are all molded over with that same stuff that we saw downstairs, even if you want to head back that way, I don't think there's any point. There's a big world filled with people who want love or need love or give love. I mean, there's love. I mean, outside though, outside the doors, you can do that. We're going outside the doors when we're done.
I've never lived anywhere except in Nora's Grove.
Consider this an opportunity then, and I smack him on the shoulder.
I'll do my best.
And I think with that, I kind of look at Yonarla and kind of gesture toward the door that Wistar said we should take to start heading the right way.
What of these gnomes and their valuables?
I mean, these are sort of stacked between them. You see a few dozen pounds in valuables.
I'm not sure it's angering the god of luck.
You were born unlucky.
Case in point.
But I suppose if these treasures that we seek are truly what they are, then we won't need any of this garbage.
I mean, you don't see anything that looks like an oddity or an arcana.
Yeah. Just a handful of shit. Okay.
I kind of look at the gnomes and I just sort of mouth, she didn't mean garbage. She's just very angry and very focused.
They shrug at you. It's like, no, we got much else to do.
All right, yeah, let's find these telescopes.
Nice. All right. You sending Lula out first?
I suppose, but I do say to Lula, we score big. You're not getting nothing. Of course. This is a contract, and I have an obligation to share at least 2% of the score. I'll throw in something extra.
Yeah, I'll check that with the boss. Rehlso, it's definitely been enough time that you've got your hit points back. Like I said, it doesn't take a big lack of action to get enough of a breather to get your hit points back.
Just for mechanical purposes, do you need to take like a defined rest, or do you just need to kind of really like role play? I've been sitting around while the others are talking, just that.
Or just you guys have not been doing much besides talking and climbing stairs, so I don't think there's not really a defined rest. It's more of like when you have a chance to get a breather, you get your hit points back, because the real damage that you don't get back is to your strength. So that's I mean, you do get it back, but that's a long sort of healing process.
How do you end up taking attribute? Well, yeah, we'll find out when it happens.
Yeah, you'll find out soon, I hope. Was that out loud? So yeah, you've got your hit points back. Anything else anyone wants to do here, or are we heading out are we sending Lula and Una to do some searching in the other area?
I think the only thing I do is maybe once Yonarla's back is turned just so she doesn't see me being superstitious. I might like a quick sort of squidge over in front of the shrine and do like a quick ablution and throw a penny into the thing, like give it a quick kiss and toss it in the bowl.
Nice. Okay, yeah. Wistar?
Beating a hasty retreat.
All right. Yeah, you guys get out there. Lula opens the door. Una sticks her torch in. And as the little gnomish looking guys indicated, there's another spiral staircase that looks like it's going up into the dome of the building. The sort of the landing of the spiral staircase is pointed almost directly at you guys. And in front of it, you see what looks like almost like a suit of armor that's entirely made of brass, or seems to be entirely plated in brass. And it's got a halberd. It's got like a claw. It's got like not a claw. It's got a hand with kind of unnaturally long fingers. And it's got what looks like just a helmeted head. It looks like a classic suit of armor sort of thing, just sort of standing in the middle of the stairway. And there's doors leading out of this in each direction.
Hey, good deal. It's a shiny piece of armor there, don't you think, bots?
You want to wear it?
Well, I don't know. I'm pretty comfortable with my cloak here, but might look awful dapper on you. Shine it up, polish it up real good.
I don't think I would. So it's like a full suit of armor?
It's like a full suit of armor. It just perched in the middle of the landing. So kind of blocking half blocking the way to the stairs. Like he's guarding the stairs.
But if you don't want it, I might at least take a little gauntlet or something. Not like go up and start tugging on that one with the talons.
I'd like you to make a strength saving throw there, Wistar, right?
Yeah.
I was not looking at the screen. And I just wanted to make sure I was calling on the right person.
That's a 4, so it's a success.
You are able to pull your hand back before the hand that's kind of holding that kind of equally brassy halberd sort of smashes hard into its own fist or into its own sort of gauntlet where you were trying to pull it away. And it just sort of clangs really, really loudly. And both the urchins and Jabin just sort of jump back. But like it's holding the halberd in one hand and you try to come up and grab this and it just kind of clangs really, really loudly. You move your hand back sort of just in time. And it's sort of like very haltingly takes a step towards you.
I probably should have guessed.
And it's
so
still
when it
coming towards you.
It didn't like break off its own arm or damage itself.
No, it actually did not seem to damage itself at all.
It's moving slowly though, huh?
Another step towards you. It's moving really slowly.
I back up quite a few paces. And it's still kind of following it. I'm like, boss, what do you think about this guy?
He's moving towards the three of you, or the six of you now.
I mean, pretty big and heavy, right?
Pretty big and heavy, moving very slow. You can hear it clang when it steps.
I mean, the whole place is a little bit wrecked. I mean, the floor look pretty good. Like, are there any weak spots that maybe if we shimmy a little bit to the left, it'll start coming, and then maybe I could, take a blast with my gun, wreck the floor underneath it. It'll fall away. We don't have to worry about it.
You don't think that this building is sort of an old sturdily built, kind of palatially sized government building. This is, it's going to be hard to like sort of knock the floor away.
I'm gonna go up to the skinny guy.
Right.
And I'm gonna take out my perfume bottle, and I'm gonna spray him in the face and say, "Distract," or yell, "Distract."
Distract.
Yeah.
I want you to know I'm using the World of Dungeons Die of Fate to see how this goes.
Yes.
What decision he makes. He runs up and he scowls at the sort of brass guy or the brass suit of armor, and then just sort of ineffectually pushes it really hard, sort of right in the breastplate, not knocking it over at all, or moving, or moving, but it reaches out and grabs him by his arm, and then slowly starts to turn around and pull him back towards the stairs. And he's looking back at you like, as his kind of wits come back to him, and he's like, "What? What's going? What?" And it starts to kind of step onto the stairs and kind of pull him after it. And he's tugging on his arm and can't get it to break away from.
And they're going
grip. And they're just
going
kind of
up
going
the stairs?
straight up the stairs.
I'm gonna follow.
And Lula and Una look at you like, "What do you want us to do?"
If you want to be part of this, you can be part of this. Elsewise, just take your earnings and go.
Make your charisma saving throw one last time. Tell me what you get.
I love this. 10.
10. All right. Rehlso and Wistar, what are you doing as Yonarla starts to mount the stairs and the urchins are sort of looking cowed coming behind her?
I think as soon as she said, "Let's follow it up," I wasn't really waiting for them. I mean, I know that he's kind of disposable, but I kind of feel sort of bad that this statue thing's just sort of dragging him off. So I'm kind of following along to see if maybe there's an opportunity to free him.
Right. Okay.
Well, that's why they call her the boss.
She makes the decisions.
I guess he's our ticket in. We'll see.
And Jabin is now crying out. Like, "Rescue me, somebody help me, please. Don't let this." And then the door at the top of the stairs opens and the thing just sort of slowly pulls Jabin through. And sort of, you see it sort of very slowly kind of push him in, and you see its hand release as it starts to move, to turn around slowly. You don't know if it's going to try to block you guys, but if so, you'll need to rush past it.
I think I'll try to bull rush it while it's sort of off balance turning, and see if we can all get in the door behind it.
Nice. Make a strength saving throw.
Sure.
I don't know if there's any helping each other or anything like that, but if I see that he's going to push up past me and I realize if I see that Wistar is going to be pushing past me, and I understand that they're going to like slam into the thing to get past it, maybe I'll try and level my gun as it's at its knees and try and shoot it, take out a knee, or at least clang off a knee, so that it's getting one leg buckled as they slam into the top of it.
I did get a 7.
So you got a 7.
Yes.
And Rehlso, you were just doing that no matter what, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Go ahead and roll your damage. Two. Rehlso, your screaming disc launches and it makes a very, very loud sound. And it just sort of explodes at the thing's knee. You get some light, not even really damage, just sort of light scrapes from the shrapnel. But it doesn't seem to have any real effect on it. But then you see Wistar just sort of collide with it, and they knock this thing down onto its back. And that doesn't seem to damage it at all. It's not crunched or crinkled or anything like that. But you guys have a chance to get right past it.
Well, let's get a move on. We'll come back later. It's not dented.
Or maybe go a different way, if we can.
Or there's this one door right in front of you at the top of the stairs. Is that where you're going?
I believe so.
Yeah, everybody's rushing through that.
With a big screaming entrance.
You get there and you see a very large room. You must be inside the dome. And you see at various spots holes in the dome where there are ornate, beautiful ornate telescopes. They're large. They'll be difficult to carry out. But they're not going to be, they were clearly valuable. And there's a little bit of collapse to them that you could fold them in or onto each other. But they're going to be clearly quite valuable, especially if they have sort of the arcane properties that the ghost told you about.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any that specifically look like man portable or have really obvious, means to, remove from their mountings? If not,
there's all of them. All of them look like they'd be portable. They look like they'll be heavy, but they'll look like they'll be portable.
Okay.
About how many do you think we could get?
Between the three of you, probably could get maybe 4 if the urchins can kind of. Well, Lula, you probably 3 between all of you. But let me set the scene that you're just kind of like that's the first thing you see because all your eyes immediately go for what's the most valuable thing in the immediate vicinity. And that's clearly the lunar glasses of the old Sage of Loon. But standing opposite you in a kind of circle of lantern light, she's actually got some electric lights on, which is weird. You wouldn't think that this building would have electricity, being a very old building. But she's got some electric lights on, and they kind of vaguely flicker and hiss. And she's sort of standing there, is the old Sage of Loon, looking like she did in a lot of her official portraits. And she looks so much like a portrait. Her dress is perfect and her hair is perfect. It looks like she has not changed at all in the last 15 years, possibly even longer. And without kind of any real facial expression, her head tilts to the side. She's got two of those kind of brass suits of armor standing right next to her. And she just points at Jabin and she's just like, well, take that one. And the suit of armor starts moving towards Jabin, who's sort of trying to recoil away from it. Now the brass armor you guys left on the landing at the stairs right outside the door is starting to like trying to flop itself over a little like a turtle on its back, and it's making a lot of noise. But who's in the rear, do you think? Who's closest to the back? And Rehlso, to answer your question, which I just saw, I apologize. You're really looking for just valuables. You know the building's about to be abandoned. So
I feel like Yonarla and the urchins are toward the back just because Wistar and Rehlso sort of rushed in.
Yeah,
okay.
That is a good point.
Yonarla, you hear the sound of people coming up the stairs, not moving artificially slowly, but moving cautiously. Like they don't know what they're going into.
I'm just gonna toss a firebomb down at them.
Roll the damage on that firebomb.
Okay. And that's 1d6 to everyone in the area.
Yeah.
As long as they're in the area.
Right. So go ahead and roll that d6. And you can roll it twice. 6. Well done, Yonarla. You hear two voices cry out, and one of them seems very familiar to you. But that may not be as important as this bronze suit of armor, or this brassy suit of armor, sort of walking towards little Jabin, who's still got his strategically placed strip of cloth. What do you all do?
Oh, Rehlso, you said that he gets to leave with us. Are you just gonna let him get carted away?
I'm just looking at the scene. When this woman said to the figures, like, "Oh, take him," can I even see where they're trying to take him toward? Or what they're trying to take him into?
She's like, take him, and she's sort of gesturing towards herself. Like she's almost saying, like, bring him to me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, pointing to me or pointing to
herself?
Jabin? Okay.
Yeah, pointing to Jabin, sorry.
Okay. You know what? I'll step forward, see if that short circuits the need. And I'll say, lady, who are you? What are you doing here? You know this building's pretty much getting abandoned, right?
And she's like, I have ways of taking care of myself in my own interest, and I am not interested in talking to you, foreigner.
Oh. I probably kind of go a blue glow a little forlorn blue glow,
Aw.
and then say, "Oh well, that's unfortunate. Do these telescopes represent your interests? Because if not, maybe we don't need to really cross paths anymore." And
They
then
belong to my predecessor, but I think they make a nice decoration. And then she clarifies to the slow-moving sort of brass suit of armor, like, "Bring him to me," pointing at Jabin. It's pretty close to Jabin. Wistar, what about you?
I didn't really ever like the guy, but he did say some kind of nice things about me. Nicer things than the boss ever said about me. I think I took down one of these suits of armor. Say, well, I've got a debt to pay, and we've been given permission to take anything in here that we like, and take whomever we want with us. So he's coming with us, and he's going to help us carry those telescopes out.
The suit of armor is not paying any attention to you.
You gonna call off your robot, lady?
She looks at you, and I'd like you to make a charisma saving throw there, Star.
Oh, I should have let that one. Oh, that's a 17. That's a failure.
Wistar, she catches your eye just as you go, "Lady," and you all of a sudden you remember being a rat, and you remember being surrounded by the love of other rats, and living in a beautiful rat commune, and you hear somebody, it's not clear in your memory whether this is a friend or a lover, but you're sort of physically very close to them, and you hear them whisper, "Our place is below. Our place is really, really below." And by the time your sort of like head comes out of that, this thing has its grip on Jabin again. He sort of struggles away. It can't really get a good grip on him, because he's bouncing around, sort of struggling. But it's got a hand like kind of like half kind of in his hair and half on the cloth at his waist. And Yonarla and Rehlso, what do you do?
I think as soon as he sort of goes into a fugue and I see that it's going that way, and that ultimately we just want to get these telescopes and get out of here, I just look at her and say, "You know what? I just don't like you very well." And I just put the thing right up underneath her face. And because, I mean, like, I walk up to her and she's basically ignoring me. So I was like, you don't have time for me? You probably won't have time for this. And then I just, let it scream right up into her.
I'm not going to have you roll damage because it smashes into her face and does nothing. You see a crack along the side of her face, like porcelain.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, she doesn't try to dodge away from it. But it sort of smashes into her face and doesn't do much. Yonarla, what are you up to?
I'm going to get one of them telescopes down from the wall, and I'm looking for another exit.
Okay. There's not a lot of other exits. You're sort of in a dome on the roof. There's a door out to the roof. And you would know from Rehlso's reconnaissance this morning that if you had some way to like project a rope across the square, and you might be able to get to the roof of another neighboring building, but it is sort of it's like 25, 30 feet across. Rehlso estimated to you. And you're also hearing you hear the steps kind of coming up the stairs below.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
I'm just like...
No, it is about 40 feet down. So if you have a good way to get down, you might be able to take the time and tie it off. But that's, you'd be risking the goods.
I think I'm gonna be like, Stinky, Wrinkle, get the goods, get to the roof, come with me.
Nice. Okay. Wistar, you kind of come out of your fugue state as she sort of breaks her gaze with you and starts looking around and kind of hisses and is encouraging the brass suit of armor to bring Jabin towards her. What do you do? And it's not got a good grip on him. It's not like when it had its kind of like death grip on his arm.
That phrase, our place is below, is still kind of like ringing in my head.
Yeah.
Do I see anything in this room that might be like that would connect that phrase in my mind to something in the room?
No, it's really confusing. It's almost like you kind of heard what she wanted you to hear after you locked eyes with her. And you can't quite put your finger on you can't quite put your finger on who it was who said that to you. But it's almost like that's just what she wanted you to hear. That's and it may have something that would mean something one day, but it's just so hard to see where it fit in to what you need to do right now. It's really, actually, also, your charisma goes down by 1 as charisma damage.
Oh boy, I'm even more.
It would be 4/5. It was still temporarily 5. It's still, but you've taken 1 point of charisma damage as your will and presence start to break.
I sniff I like kind of draw a rag over my nose and say, it's not right to put thoughts like that in my head. And I just kind of trudge over to Yonarla and grab the other side of one of these bulky telescopes. I'm going to take this with me.
The urchins sort of scramble out. They sort of see what you're doing, Yonarla. And they get their ropes ready.
Quick question. Do these have like tripods attached to them, or could I like actually
once you lift it, it sort of comes off the tripod. It's got sort of a mount, but it's not hard to lift it off the mount.
Right, but would I be able to use it on the roof? Or is it too big for that?
Use it on the roof in what sense? I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Like, in other words, if you saw something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clever.
I will probably need you to. You're gonna probably you want to use your strength to balance it.
Mm-hmm.
Your strength or dexterity, whichever is worse. But
whichever is worse. Okay.
Yeah, whichever is representing sort of like whenever something is complex, you're always going to like struggle
Yeah.
with the thing that's toughest for you. So if you're trying to balance it and hold it, whichever one is more difficult is going to be the tough part.
What if I have the urchins hold it for me to look so that I can look through it? Would that work?
Yeah, that would actually work pretty well.
Okay. I'm going to do that.
All right, so you're out on the roof. Wistar, or sorry, you're heading out there with another one of the telescopes. What are you up to, Rehlso?
If she really doesn't care, and that seems to, you said the porcelain seemed to crack, or it just seemed to like
face, yeah.
make it look like porcelain.
It almost looks like she's wearing some sort of like human mask. I mean, her face is moving like a human face, but it seems like as soon as you hit it with your thing, it just sort of like had a slight cracking along the side.
Okay. I don't think there's much I can do, but these things are moving slow, so I think that I'm just gonna jump away from it and kind of grab Jabin's hand and pull him toward the door. Grab one of the telescopes along the way, kind of just thrust it into his chest and kind of pick up the other end and try and force him to move.
I'm going to kind of condense all that into a single strength saving throw.
Okay. Hey, it's my best stat. Let's see if I can roll under a 9. Ooh, I rolled a 1. Does that mean anything?
Yes.
I don't know if there's crits.
I don't think there's official crits, but yeah, it's hard to ignore a 1 on a roll under system. How beautiful that is. Yeah, you grab Jabin, the thing sort of yanks his little cloth away, and he sort of cries out, covers his mouth, and you kind of spin him around, and he ends up hugging one of those telescope things, and you sort of like foist him out the door. And just as you get out the door, you see Yonarla holding the kind of one of the telescopes, pointing it at the ground, just as the jackal and the judge get to the top of the stairs and turn to point at Yonarla with their guns and say, "Freeze." And the brass things are kind of slowly lumbering after you. And the jackal and the judge are pointing to the door at Yonarla. Yonarla, it's over to you. Can you balance this thing and get it to working while it's pointed at the ground? Let's make that, I think it's strength for you, which is the...
Well, what if weren't the urchins holding on to it, or?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, let's still have you do a strength saving throw, just because they're Yuna's is struggling with it. You're having to operate it. Lula's not aware of what you're doing, so you're constantly trying to point and do things that she doesn't know how to cooperate with, because she's, this is happening fast. So let's go for your strength saving throw.
Okay. Ah, shit. 18.
So, Yonarla, you're going to take 5 hit points of damage as you're grazed. You just got it almost working, and you're grazed along your shoulder by the jackal's gun. And now the brass things are kind of lumbering towards the jackal and the judge, focusing on the jackal, oddly, who's now sort of distracted by them, but the judge has still got his gun pointed straight at you. Wistar, what are you doing? You've still got your hands on this thing.
Well, now that the boss has been shot.
No, it's just kind of grazed across her shoulder. It's more just distracted her from what she's doing.
I think I'll. Wow, they have guns. That's scary.
Yeah.
I still have to pay off my permit. You know.
You do, yeah.
So I think I'm gonna maybe head out to that roof. Get
Yeah.
some fresh air.
Yeah, you're out on the roof. You're there with the boss. You're looking over the edge. She's clearly got something she's trying to do while people are shooting at her. And you've got the judge who said freeze, and he's sort of panning between the two of you, and now he's covering you as he sees you kind of carrying away. The jackal is trying to move away from these brass things that seem to be slowly lumbering towards him. What are you doing there, Wistar?
I think I will freeze then. I'll say, hey there, Your Honor. Just doing some official business here.
It's like, you set that down and then go take the other one away from her.
Well, I would be happy to, but this is kind of our property now, and we're going to go.
Yonarla, see if you can make that balance roll again.
Let me see.
Just keep it balanced long enough to kind of get it on. And focused.
Right.
Let me pull out my permit here for
Fuck. No, I can't. It's a 15.
Oh man, yeah, you slip again, and as you slip, the judge fires and just grazes Wistar just for 1 point of damage.
I have a permit.
Rehlso, what
Okay.
are you doing? What are you doing there? As this slow motion scene unfurls, and you see the jackal sort of like, you see the jackal trying to dance around, get away from these kind of fast moving, and the judge is like, focus on them, ignore the suits of armor.
I feel like this may be a little bit of coincidence, but I'm just sitting here like holding the telescope sort of like pointed toward, me, and I'm just looking sort of alarmed.
Right.
I'm not really sure what to do about him because with it in my hands, I can't really hold my gun, and it seems like it's been ineffective every time I've wanted to, really use it against something anyway.
Right.
And
you've got Jabin sort of with you, so if you can get him to hold it, you can spin and use your gun.
Well, no. So what I was thinking was happening is, as with my lack of confidence, this green sort of glow starts like emanating from like near my chest. The telescope's pointing toward me, which is, so instead of, since it's kind of backwards, my glow will go through it, and basically, just shine my light back towards him, just like hopefully blinding him for a little bit.
Oh, nice. Okay. Because this is a crazy plan that just might work. I just did the Die of Fate for you there, Rehlso, and that's what you got. So,
yay!
That is a crazy plan that does work, and he is blinded, and he holds up his hands, and you've got this pointed, kind of with Jabin sort of in one direction, sort of at you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jabin sort of like twitches.
Mm-hmm.
and sort of your light sort of blinds him as it goes through the telescope. And then the judge ends up disappearing and reappearing on the other side of the roof, kind of facing away from you, and you hear his shot ring out over the rooftops into the night before he like gets confused and turns around about where he is. The jackal has got his gun sort of bringing around to bear. Yonarla, do you want to try again? The kids are have got this pointed at the ground. You're trying to work the controls to get all the pathways open.
Time's a charm.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm holding on tight to the telescope,
10 or less.
and I do it. I roll under. I roll a 9.
Nice.
Under 10. And I'm holding on so tight to this telescope.
So the jackal is bearing down on you guys, and I think he's going to go for the person he knows best. Who's most annoyed him, and he's going to shoot at Rehlso. Rehlso, he's got a good grazing strike right by your hip there, missing Jabin and just hitting you with your green glow. And he's just taking 4 hit points of damage. But I would need everybody to sort of dive through the telescope while the kids are like holding it pointed towards the ground. And I'm going to start, I think, in Yonarla, forgive me if I'm being presumptuous, but I think you're going to be the first through the telescope folding space, right?
Uh-huh.
You're standing right behind it. And it seems consistent with Yonarla's mercantile character. Mercenary mercantile character. Is that sound about right?
I mean, to go first?
To go first, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Does the telescope stay here or does it not?
The telescope starts glowing.
Okay.
You've got it focused on the ground.
Okay. I'm like,
see the ground as if it were only inches below you.
I'm like, oh goodness.
Tell Javin to throw you a
Wistar!
telescope.
Wistar, come here. Give me the telescope. Let's go.
You called me. You called me by my name.
It's so...
like freely hand over the telescope to you.
And I go through the telescope with this other telescope.
Nice. I would like you to make a charisma saving throw. It's not very hard for you.
All right. Seven.
All right. If it had been a 20, this was going to get really interesting.
Yeah.
Yonarla, you kind of move as if you were about to jump through the telescope. And all of a sudden, you're just standing on the ground, sort of in that little park with the other telescope. You can still see what looks like people pointing one of the larger telescopes at you above. And Yonarla, from where you guys are, Yonarla just disappears. And there's the 2 urchins there sort of handling the telescope, like looking very confused and very freaked out about what just happened. Wistar, what do you do? You're right there. And, oh, Wistar, I apologize. The jackal just shot in your direction.
Oh, no.
You're going to take 6 points of damage, which is going to take your hit points to 0.
Yes.
And then your strength is going to go down by 4.
Oh, okay, cool. So I'm not dead.
Yeah.
I was like, that would be a very poignant ending.
Right. Yeah. So you've just gotten you actually took more than just a flesh wound. I think like it's sunk into your arm, which is full and like it's not your arm is freakishly long. You know, it's got this it's got this like prehensile thumb at the end of it, and it's not so close to your body as it should be. And then you remember, oh yeah, not a rat.
They're always getting in the way.
Yeah, they flop around sort of uselessly, but yeah, and now they're in pain. What's that about? It's like, but like this bullet is sunk into your arm, the muscly, fleshy part of your arm. What are you doing there?
I think that the shot maybe
into where Yonarla was. You can try to attack back.
I think that I just kind of spin around from the force of the shot and kind of fall into that place where Yonarla was and
make a dexterity saving throw.
Sure.
Yonarla got this focused in the right way. You just need to get into the spot she was in.
That is a 9, so it's a success.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Yonarla, all of a sudden, Wistar appears right next to you. In both the visual sense and the olfactory sense.
Lady, I think I've been shot.
Yeah, and he's got blood kind of coming down the side of his arm. Rehlso, oh man, I'm rolling like fire today. You're also gonna take 6 damage, so you're gonna lose all your hit points, and your strength is gonna go down by 4.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the 2 kids holding the trying to brace that telescope in place and looking at each other like, how did they get down? Do they try to lunge in? What are you gonna do? It looks like Una is about to try to do the same thing, but she's bracing one side of the telescope.
Right, so the lady is still inside.
Yeah, she's not moved away. She's the brass things seem very focused on the jackal now, who's just shot you twice. Who shot you and then no, you actually got shot by the judge, who's kind of
he had spun around finally.
Yeah, he's kind of regained his footing. So what are you doing there?
Okay,
you see a way out.
I feel. Is this just like a flat open roof, or are
There's
there
a dome in the middle of it, but otherwise it's just a flat open space, like a terrace kind of thing.
Okay, there's not like a rail or anything.
Oh no, there's kind of a small ledge, small edge. It's not. It doesn't just drop off into nothingness. There's a space at the end that they're bracing the telescope against, or not. There's like a ledge is not the right word, but there's a barrier or a wall, a partial wall there, so it doesn't just people don't just wander off into empty space.
So I've got this steel rope. Is it just rope that is metal, or does it have some mechanical? Okay. How close is the jackal to being grappled by this thing? Like, does he even realize
he's actually staying away from them pretty effectively and focused on getting you guys.
Okay.
Going down, I will tell you, going down by rope will be slower unless
right.
to take care of him and the judge. Going down by rope would be pretty slow.
Okay. So the judge kind of got beamed over to right next to the edge of the wall.
Yeah.
I think that. Oh gosh.
And all of a sudden, you're pausing to look around, and all of a sudden, you hear a clink as the the telescope sort of sags and hits the low wall a little bit. And you see Una's not there anymore. And
Okay.
down where you are, Yonarla, Una just reappears. And sort of drops and snuffs her torch and goes like, "Job's over."
Okay. I think
I'll flip her. I'll flip her a pound coin.
Nice. Okay. Lula's looking like she's trying to check the instruments on the telescope and try to like check to make sure it's focused. What are you doing there, Rehlso?
I think
You
I'm
and
gonna
Jabin are still up there.
I'm gonna tell Jabin to grab that other end so that he can jump through, and I will fire off a shot in the judge's direction. Basically, I'm not trying to hit him like center mass. I'm trying to hit him like in the leg so that he'll stumble and maybe fall.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. You don't even need to roll your damage because you hit him and he goes tumbling over that low wall at the edge. I made a dexterity check for him and he got a 20.
Okay. Oh.
He got a 20. So yeah, he goes straight over the edge. And the jackal looks at you, about to fire. What do you want to do?
I think that just sort of in a panic, I turn toward him, and since like all I've got is this telescope and that cup, I just like pitch the I drop my gun, pitch the cup at his head, and while he's ducking, jump, just kind of grabbing Jabin, sort of like lunging into the path of the telescope.
All right. Make a dex. Yeah, I think this is where your friendship and loyalty to Jabin saves you, because he made a dexterity saving throw, and I think he's going to get you through this.
Okay.
His like always strategically placed, odd bit of cloth is now gone, but he still has you there, Rehlso. And just as you jump, you see the two brass things kind of come and grab the jackal. Just as he looked like he was about to, as you throw the cup at him, hit him in the temple, and he sort of rolls into one of them that he had sort of danced away from only a second ago. They lower their grasp. He can't get away. And the last thing you see is the woman from inside moving forward as if to kiss him. And then you see almost like from the ground, all of you see, just as soon as you reappear, almost like a flash, almost like a lightning on the roof, and like a crack. And then let's see. And then Lula appears right next to you. And she does not have the telescope with her. So I think you guys got away with two of them.
Yeah, and I feel like we're fortunate to have done that with us down here. I look and say, Miss Cavendish, maybe departure is the better valor retreat. There was a saying.
I don't care about sayings. Yes, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Back to the base.
Had enough with bureaucracy today. Better go get some medical care now. Womp womp.
Yeah.
So the Yonarla and crew, as you're able to sell these instruments, your thaumaturge is again a help to you. He offers initially, he tells you how valuable they'd be at the university, but then he offers to buy one of the telescopes for around 200 pounds. He actually says 180.
I say, we keep one as the Shucklers. The Shucklers should just have one. This is a really useful tool. And
you're right.
Huh?
He says you're right. When you're right, you're right. Definitely, you're right. I mean, if things go wrong, you might focus it the wrong way. I mean, we'd need to kind of test it.
Right. And you could have one for your own personal, whatever you want to do with it. Could you do 210?
$200.
You've got yourself a deal, and I must say you're one of the you're just one of the most bestest investments I've ever made. And you have 2 new telescopes to play with.
I'll remember not to point them into each other, I swear. And he goes to set them up in his workshop. Rehlso, you've been pretty badly wounded. But you've still got everything you had, and you can expect you'll probably get better in a few weeks. Jabin gets some basic clothes and does not leave your side throughout the entire time of your recovery. What do you want to have him do after you get out of the hospital? The free hospital, I assume.
Yeah. I think that I certainly won't, just push him away, but just I feel like he's in the same place I was in when I first came here, just sort of stranger in a strange land, and I didn't really have anybody to kind of help me out, but at the same time that sort of freed me to rely on myself and make my own way. So
right.
I want him to pick a path as opposed to me setting him on one, but then I want to give him some help in, then following it out and navigating all this stuff that's going to be weird to him on the outside.
Right.
Since he's all sort of, from the Shrine of Love, I'm thinking that there has to be something in the vein of either messenger service or companionship, or like a thing that he might actually enjoy doing, and
right, okay,
and just get him where he would be useful.
Yeah, I think what happens is he tries a few things out. He ends up just kind of hanging around the place you sleep a lot, even after you sort of like go do your thing. He struggles to really get his footing under him, and he ends up sort of just working in a coffee shop, trying to make the pennies he makes there sort of stretch to do some other stuff. Since much like other outsiders or less integrated foreigners than yourself, he's still trying to understand how money and things work. So
I feel like he could be a really good bartender, just like somebody that people are willing to walk up and talk to.
But he doesn't really project the. He's a little too coy. He doesn't really project that kind of confidence, and he certainly doesn't know what to do when he gets a customer who's rowdy. So he's really kind of struggling. I rolled the die of fate for him, and so.
So speaking of people who aren't very good with their money,
yeah,
I think you see like a rat catchers consortium wagon like kind of go by, and then you see Wistar kind of like sneak out of an alley after that happens, and they're like weighing this coin purse in their hand, thinking about that permit. Then they look over across the street at the light that's pouring out of the now 24-hour cheese shop.
Yeah,
and
the perpetual cheese shop.
You see them go in there.
Oh, Wistar making the dairy rich decision.
Yes, always pro dairy every day. Okay.
A little dairy every day keeps the doctor away. Oh man, Yonarla, this is the first time. Well, you've not directly attacked your rival or your ex. What's kind of going forward for Yonarla here?
Well, I think I'm working closely with Dr. Korn, on maybe miniaturizing these telescopes, and continuing to build the empire.
Nice.
Mostly, and investing, continuing to invest in the Pigeon Street Shucklers. So
awesome.
I mean, that's just her current arc. And I think she was feeling kind of kind because this is the first time that anyone under her command has ever been injured. So she, like when it came to split the winnings, it was everybody got 60, and I think Wistar and what was your name?
Rehlso.
Rehlso, yeah. Wistar and Rehlso wound up getting 10 extra for their trouble. Sort of a insurance policy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Thank you.
And but yeah, she just kind of continues working on making the Shucklers more reputable. So.
Awesome. All right. Everyone, thank you so much. If you have a few minutes, I'd love to do a quick Roses and Thorns, but I know we're sort of over time. But does everybody have time to stick around for that, or do people need to get going? Or
I have to head out, but I had a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'd not gotten to play with you since GauntletCon, so
yeah.
So it's great to see you again.
Actually,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, Into the Odd was pretty cool. So appreciate that. Thanks for running.
Yep.
Well, thanks for joining, and I'm glad you got signed up and were able to join.
Absolutely. Have a nice night.
Right.
Good night, Michael.
See you, Michael.
Yeah, I can stick around for 5 or 10 minutes, I think.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I tend not to not to like going on too long about Roses and Thorns, but I did like to say thank you guys for really playing for doing it. I know that I struggle, like I didn't struggle, but like and I'm going to stop the broadcast because we don't need that.